Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
My name is Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. We're the fucking Morning Throners.
Welcome back to another episode of your favorite Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're actually remixing right now. We are in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms Part 1, which happens to be the Hedge Knight short story.
Yep, we read the whole thing, so it's going to be the whole book. We read it with Kyle. Glow was busy and wasn't able to read it and make this podcast, but I'm sure he'll be in the comment section.
We kind of snuck it in the middle here. Like we started recording some of the other ones, and we decided to go back and
I was talking about some of the gripes that we have with scheduling. I was talking about it off air, but I'm gonna pick one with Kyle today on air. Jeff texts this morning and says, "Hey guys, when are we going to record this week? And what are we going to record?" Because we've already actually recorded.
Actually, it was 2 days earlier. It was yesterday.
And we've actually already recorded a few of the Clash of Kings one. This is going to come out right after the Game of Thrones because that's the order that George released them. But we've actually already recorded a few Clash of Kings ones, and we were trying to decide what are we going to record, the next Tyrion or this. But if we don't record this now, then we can't get it out in time, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I wanted to do this one, so I was pushing for that.
It's long. To be fair, when we usually read, it's 14 pages. This one was 130 some pages. I'm
just saying, when you texted yesterday or whenever, Jeff, and said
yesterday would have been the time.
When you texted that, I assumed 100% we were doing Tyrion. Because Kyle got the book and read the whole thing on Friday and didn't tell any of us that he was ready to record. We could have been reading it this weekend, but nobody knew until literally this morning at 7 a.m. that Kyle did this. So Jeff and I had to pull it out of our ass and get this book covered in a day. No wonder Glow didn't make it in time, right? It came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It also felt like you were really pushing to do this. So here we are, Hedge Knight.
Well, because this will come out in the right order, right?
But don't we got to have some in the kitty.
Yeah, but what? We're gonna release prologue and then that's
what about the recap? What about recap?
That came out today.
All right, it is what it is. Here we are. We're here with the Hedge Knight. For all of our real fans, you'll notice that we've already done this and probably a little bit more entertaining because you got me reading it for the first time, making bomb ass predictions.
If you actually go and listen to that intro, Jeff, I kind of want you to pull it up right now. You sound dead. You're like, "Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. We read the Hedge Knight this week." You get into it. You get into it after the first 10 seconds, but the opening is just so flat. You've gotten way better at your openings. One. Yeah, you've gotten way better at your openings over time. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that was podcast.
Literally 11 or something.
Yeah, we did that before we. No, yeah, because we needed Kyle. We did the season and then we podcasted Hedge Knight before we did book 1.
Yeah. Yep.
Needed Kyle. Come on.
So also if you.
Remember that, Jeff.
Before we needed a nerd that never saw or read Game of Thrones. So, hey, there's Kyle.
Because I had two nerds. I had two nerds that had never read the Hedge Knight. So that's what we did earlier. Now I got Kyle back in it. If you want to see Glow's initial reaction to the Hedge Knight for his first read through, that's in the first podcast. Go check it out.
All right, so let's get right into the storyline here. We kind of come in hot.
Well, hold on, Kyle. What do you think?
Yeah, all right.
I thought it was pretty cool. You just said it. I read it all pretty much in one, or not pretty much. It was in one sitting. I mean, obviously, I got up. It's taking breaks every now and then, but
I know you read other books, but for Game of Thrones, for what we do here, reading, like Jeff said, reading 130 pages or whatever without having to stop after 10. It's got to be kind of cool because you don't have to. It's not just a cock teaser. Yeah, it's not just
exactly. Yes, in one sitting. It was that actually probably does lend to what you're saying and why I didn't put it down, and I did enjoy it more, I thought, than some of the chapters we read where it's like you said, until just takes so long to put a lot of that together with the other book. I mean, and all the books are going to be because it is sectioned so much, and we've mentioned that many times. You'd remember who these people were, but I don't, because it was literally a year ago that we read about them, kind of stuff.
Well, I feel like that's, I don't know, kind of goes both ways, right? Because you haven't read it in a year, but you read it and we fucking went through it more than most people go through it when they read it the first time.
I know, but then we go into the next one for another hour.
I know what you're saying.
We talk about each of these chapters for an hour.
One of the things I was wondering is there's a lot of not Easter eggs, but little hints throughout this whole this book, references to Game of Thrones. You can be like, again, like we said,
sure.
like Leonardo DiCaprio, like, oh, they fucking, it's from, I know him. What are some? What like?
Wait, before we get into the Easter eggs, I also want to say, like, on the second time of me, so I cheated. I actually listened to it, but there's a lot of red herrings in this little story.
That's what I thought Nelson was saying. Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, for sure.
Think about this. Think about this. Think about this. Bam! Now we got to think about that. Oh,
first
wait,
example,
shit. Bam! Now we got to think about that.
And we're jumping a little bit ahead. We'll go back a little bit. But first example, right, is when he gets to the inn and she's like, oh, did my boy take care of your horse and stuff? And you're like, oh, yeah, the boy outside was her son, like, not a prince, right? Because she has a boy who takes care of horses.
I will say that this I got the paperback off Amazon, right?
It's got cool pictures.
It gave away that it was who Egg was.
Where?
On
Why?
the back. It's like, in reality, he is Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? Like, that's kind of bullshit when I read that. I stopped reading the back after I saw that.
I bet mine has that too, and I just didn't care enough to read it.
To be fair, well, Jeff and Glow both knew who Egg was going in beforehand because, like, when they read it, they had already read all 5 books, right? And I had been like, oh, and like, there's not like a ton of mention of these like some of these characters in the future, but like Egg's brother, one of them is at the Citadel named Aemon.
Yeah.
Right. So that later Aemon mentions Egg a few times, and it's like really cool, right? So just like little things like that like that'll happen in like a later book, right?
It is a little bit better in my book. It says tagging along is his diminutive squire, a boy called Egg, whose true name is hidden from all he and Duncan encounter. So they didn't.
So that sucks. So I was really hoping you weren't going to know that. It's almost the same thing.
It said, tagging along with him is his diminutive squire, a boy called Egg, whose true identity must be kept hidden. For in reality, he is Aegon Targaryen, and one day will become king.
And that's probably the first thing you did was got the book unwrapped and read the back.
Yeah, I just glanced at it to see, like, I was like, oh, Sir Duncan the Tall towers above his rivals, you know? And then, like,
that sucks. Because that was like,
fuck, turn it back over.
I can only
That's
imagine.
obviously like one of the big, like, probably the biggest, like, reveal if you don't see that coming, right? But there's definitely hints of it the whole way. Like, he's like, oh, why are you bald? He like pulls up his head.
His brother was
like,
in there.
I don't even think, Nelson, like, even though I knew Aegon and Egg, like, I don't remember how my reaction was to when
I'm sure
it was
that
Egg.
I avoided like reminding you of that for the previous like 2 months up to it, and you probably like at first like probably won't
like who's this little bald kid getting out there? Like I don't remember having a clue because I remember being like, holy shit. And when did you stop? So for the viewers that are just listening for the first time and for Kyle, when we read it, we stopped halfway, and me and Glow both had to make predictions.
It had to be when he was in jail. That's my guess.
Look at the end of page 74.
Is that where the picture is?
I think it's the same for both of you guys.
Right.
I think it's either right before he goes into jail, or it's right before the Egg reveal, because I wanted to see if Jeff knew. But I think because Jeff already knew the Egg thing.
End of 74, he's talking about, I cut off my hair, brother. I didn't want to look like you. So
yeah,
that was
and then the next thing is he's in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we stopped it. So I made Jeff stop there and be like, Jeff, what do you think is going to happen, right? And Jeff's predictions had nothing to do with a battle of 7.
It already, though?
No, Glow did. I'm the only one with self-control.
Because Jeff, obviously, like, Jeff knows the feeling that Kyle has when we, like, poke him for predictions, because Jeff was saying shit like, he's going to have to, because... Like, oh, we don't find out, but like, I don't know, you're saying
something
shit about,
was really stupid. My first predictions were so lackluster that the second
you have
time,
no idea there's going to be a battle by combat.
I was just
until
nowhere
it happens,
even close.
right? Like that's
so
nowhere.
The next time I had to do it, I pulled out so much shit out of my asshole that like it was just funny to see Nelson's reaction more or less.
I don't know when that one happened. When that book got
it had to be the next one, the second short story. But
yeah, we should go from the beginning. Go from the beginning.
Start
off, Kyle.
digging. Right? Starts out he's digging.
Along the mountainside?
Yeah, and then you find out he's digging a grave. Yeah, for the old man.
Let's do a quick synopsis on the old man. We got a bunch of mentions of him throughout. Old man was a hedge knight himself. Hedge knight really just means that you can you're a knight.
Kind of like a sellsword.
Sellswordish, but yeah, you can go to castle as you choose. You're not locked down to a castle, not down to like another person.
But you're to uphold the knight code the whole time. That's like, I guess, what bumps him above the sellsword because I mean it pretty much
Yeah, it's just a little bit more honor.
Yeah.
There's one point where Dunk is like considering walking into the tournament field, and he says the only difference between a knight and a sellsword is a knight's pride, and that's why he's like, I'm not going to walk amongst these great lords when I don't even have a pavilion type thing. I'm going to go sleep under the trees, which I guess, I don't know, like a sellsword would just go and like try and find a place to stay. I don't know what the comparison is there, but yeah, basically it's a higher status sellsword. You I think like Arlen says something like you serve who you think is right or whatever, right?
Yeah. You serve like what's right in your heart.
Like if the lord you're serving starts being a dick, you just like leave and go on the road and go find somebody else or something.
You get Joffrey, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he died, and Doug's burying him. We kind of get the little lessons that he
just died on the road though. Like nothing killed him. He just died of.
It was like
cold.
They said he was old.
Like
there was a storm. Then it got cold. Outside. So like I'm assuming he just had like
he wasn't a bad one.
Right. Natural causes.
What about Dunk?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Kyle.
What's that? How old is he? Like 16? So he's
just like what's Dunk's stat like? What's his like physical
he's
features?
He's dunking the tall. I said that before. He's huge.
He's like, I think they say closer to 7 than 6, right? Closer to 7 feet than 6. Yeah, but yeah, he's only like 16 or 17, but they don't really know his age.
But he did get knighted by Arlen as he was dying, pretty much, I think. Like, I think he knew that he was dying, and that's why he knighted him. Don't know that he's quite ready yet. You can kind of find that out throughout here. It was kind of thrust upon him, but he is going to do what he can to make it right and do the right thing, it sounds like.
Yep.
So he buries this old guy. With that, he gets kind of all of his stuff, right? Which is 3 horses. They describe each of them. Thunder's a big war horse. There's a little palfrey, which is not chestnut.
Sweetfoot, I think.
Sweetfoot. And then there's another one, a little gray, gray or something. That's called chestnut. He has his own little bit of armor. He doesn't have a sword.
Well, he doesn't really have anything. He has the old man's armor, which doesn't fit him at all.
Yeah. Okay. I thought he had like a little bit, maybe like a male shirt, but
nah. Even the male's like too small for him.
So like when he would go serve this guy, he wasn't actually in the battles. Like he was just waiting for this guy to come back.
He's like armoring him up,
cleaning the armor, and that kind of
he's just
stuff.
waiting. Because he seems. I mean, I guess he's not too old to be a squire. He's just fucking freakishly huge to be a squire.
Yeah. Exactly.
So. I don't know if there's anything more important.
He was an orphan, and the what is that place called? Flea Bottom? Where Arya was.
Flea Bottom.
So
that's how he found him.
So he starts wondering what he can do next. He's like, I could go try and find another hedge knight to squire for. I could become a guardsman in a city, like at the city watch at Lannisport or King's Landing. And then he thinks about the tourney, which is where they were headed. The old man wasn't going to fight in a tourney, but they were going there anyway, just like chill and like look at the tournament, I guess. So that's what Dunk decides to do over the other things. That's when he passes the inn.
So one other thing about the old man is that when he was dying, he was like muttering to himself, and instead of saying like, "Oh, I wish I could go back to where he was from," he said, didn't he say like, "I wish I'm going to the place that Dunk ends up going," right, for the tourney?
Well, he was singing about he was singing a song that like a common song, like "Let's go to Goldtown to see the fair maid" or something like that, and he just changed it to Ashford. Yeah, he just changed it because that's where they were going.
If that had anything to do with.
And I don't think that was like his dying breath. That wasn't like his dying breath. That was like while they were on the road before he got sick. I think.
He's singing songs about where they were going to.
Yep.
So Dunk gets to the inn, and he's looking for the stable boy to take care of the horses so he can go in, and he's got like 3 silvers to his name, a handful of copper, which I know we dove into the money conversions last time.
Money.
The 3 silvers is okay. The coppers is
Yeah.
Like the gold to silver comparison is 200 outrageous.
Silver. I mean, I guess 200 silver is 1 gold. 200 silvers. And it's weird. There's many different types of silvers. In this one, they only talk about stags. And yes, 200 silver stags is 1 gold. But there's like a silver groat, like a silver star.
Well,
and that's like different.
It's gold dragons right now.
Yeah, there's gold dragons, but there's like I'm saying there's like 3 different types of silver and like 3 or 4 different types of copper. This one they're only using 1, which is the most common, the stag. But yeah, the money conversion in Westeros is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
so stupid.
I didn't know if it turned to or gold dragon turned to gold stag.
No,
I missed the silver part.
200 silver stags is 1 gold dragon.
So
I was just gonna say it's decent enough like for a night. Like he had enough for food and a room and shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, he even once he does get his food, he gives him 1, and he gets some money back. So we know he doesn't even spend like a full silver.
Back. Yep.
But he's looking for the stable boy, and this little naked kid comes out of the water like he just got a bath. And
also,
Kyle,
your book had pictures, right?
Yeah.
Like the pictures are pretty sweet.
Yeah, the pictures are
cool.
great.
We also have illustrations. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, you'll see the background image. We have our artists do illustrations of the characters. I already have them do Dunk and Egg for the ones that we did earlier, so we'll be able to reuse those. So that's sweet. I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree. So Egg, we don't know it's Egg. He comes out the water.
Well, yeah, we don't know his name, but yeah, we can call him Egg.
Sorry.
We know now. No, we know now. Everyone knows.
Everybody does. Should know.
They argue he argues if Dunk's a knight. He's like, you don't look like a knight. He's like, do all knights look alike? He's like, no, but most of them don't look like you.
Look more
your sword belt's made out of rope.
Yeah.
Egg just calling him out on all his shit.
Dunk's just not put together. He's just like a slapped together, I don't know, kind of like a noob. You know, when you make fun of me for starting Sea of Thieves late and I'm out there in the fucking trousers and that white tunic.
It's just like a dead giveaway. Yeah, exactly.
It just sticks
100%,
out.
100%.
Especially for Egg, who we find knows everything about basically every knight that's worth a shit in the Seven Kingdoms. He's like, dude, you're not a
He's
knight.
kind of like Bran in that aspect, right? Like Bran. Yeah, he's like what Bran wanted to
run into. Yeah. If you're trying to hide or trying to pretend you're a knight, or not pretend, but
Dunk tells him take care of the horses and you'll get a copper. If you're not, you'll get a clout in the ear. Which is like the biggest Dunk's like go-to threaten when he's like threatening Egg, like what's gonna happen. That's what he says. Then Dunk goes inside and there's the young lord passed out at the table, drunk
as shit.
Yeah, who could this be?
All over himself.
We find that out to be
he had a
Darren.
He tells Dunk he had a weird dream about him.
Yeah, he like wakes up out of nowhere. Dunk's already eating and stuff and drinking and just hanging out.
This comes back later.
He wakes up and he said, "I saw you in my dream."
This comes back later, Kyle. Did you put that together?
What?
Who this guy is? This is Egg's brother.
Yeah.
And then later he says like he had a dream, right?
Yeah. He tells him the rest of the dream. Right now he just says like you killed a dragon in my dream or something like that, and then that was about it.
I don't even.
He doesn't even say he kills a dragon. He just says, "Stay away from me."
Okay.
Yeah. So Dunk ends up getting his food.
A lot of food, a lot of ale.
A lot of food, some stuff for the horses, and he doesn't sleep in the inn. He goes and picks a tree and makes for Ashford in the morning. Oh, he goes back out. He goes back out.
This is where, like, also we said it earlier. Like, the inn lady says, like, "Oh, did my boy help you?" Like, he always tries to run off with the soldiers, and then like Dunk goes outside, and Egg tries to run off with him. He's like, "Oh, she warned me about this," but then he's like, "Oh, your mother," and he's like, "What do you mean, my mother? My mother's dead." And which, again, if you don't know, you're like, "Wait a minute, why? Your mother's dead?" But that lady, but he's like, "Oh, well, then maybe he's like just an apprentice, like an orphan boy who she took in or whatever." Like, Dunk makes excuses for it. That makes sense.
Well, he's like, I was an orphan too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he is. You're right. He does make excuses for people a lot.
Yeah.
So he goes back out. He finds him sitting on his war horse,
all geared up, and
he's like, none of that shit belongs to you, man. Get out of here." He starts like yelling at him pretty much.
Yeah. Well, he's like not actually mad though. He says he's trying to like make sure he's stern.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives the disguise that Egg might be this lady's orphan is he does exactly what she says, and he tries to come with him immediately to be his squire, and he's like, "Nah, come on."
Dunk's like, "Yeah, it wouldn't be good for you anyway." He's like, "You stay here." Kicks him off, then he looks sad, so Dunk throws him a copper, thinking it'll cheer him up, but the kid doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't even catch it.
He's like, "Oh, I'll pick it up later."
Knowing he's Egg, you're just like, this guy just has like fucking millions in the bank. Like, that's nothing to him.
He probably doesn't even know what a copper is. He's got so much money.
So he thinks Dunk's throwing rocks or something like that. So Dunk basically gets a look at the tourney, ton of pavilions. And I was wondering, like, what's the scale of this to the Hands tourney that we saw?
Well, it said 60. So 60 tents are up before day one. You say probably not much more than that, which, like, they even say, like, Ashford's a small castle. This girl's not even that pretty. That was from the author. So, I mean, they do get a couple princes out there. So,
well, and
it's not huge, but they get some high-name
she's not pretty
people
from
out there.
Dunk's perspective, and I think he's just comparing her to his like crushed Hansel Too Tall.
Yeah. Who's probably a smoke show.
Even though he says like she has like no butter boobs, she's just tall and no cute face. Tall. Go ahead, Kyle. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that not that many people sound like they're fighting. I know it gets canceled pretty early, but it's like it's decent, I guess. But it's like 5.
Well, at a certain point, Dunk goes into like highlight 2. Mode.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. Yeah,
he ends up skipping by and says like, "Oh, one guy faced 14, one guy faced 9." So,
yeah, so like there's like a lot.
So I guess
rounds.
we're a decent amount then.
It also feels like a really weird setup. I mean, it's a completely different setup to Attorney that we've ever seen before, which I'm sure we'll get into in more detail.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other one was just 1v1, and this was yeah. I mean, there was definitely differences, but like some of it might be the same.
Attorney of the Hand, like you had a joust champion, you had a melee champion.
But like we don't know if like they had to hand over their shit the same. Like that might have been the same.
Maybe,
but it might just be like a common joust rule. Because like they say that like he talks about when Arlen fought Breakspear didn't take his shit. So like that makes me think that that's like a common rule if it's the same rule in that tournament.
It definitely is an option. It sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were like, this is one of those tourneys where the loser has to give their stuff up. Like not all of them are like that, but some they can be.
And it's not even like you give it up. You just pay back what you could pay it back, right? You pay back the ransom.
Yeah, so, essentially that's what
unless you have no money, then you just lose it all. But so Dunk's rolling through. This is where we get a huge name drop. Just a bunch, not one specific
the
name,
Marches,
just
Sir Lionel
all the names.
Baratheon, Tarly Huntsman, Dondarrion Purple Lightning, Apples of Fossaway, Lionel Lannister, the Estermonts, the Brackens, the Blackwoods. Oh, they talk about the Blackwood and Brackland. We heard about these guys before. Kyle, where do we hear about these guys? It was actually pretty recent.
They hate each other? They're with Rob, aren't they? And they just don't agree with each other, and they are contrary to each other. Contrary. I was going to say contrarians, but.
Yep, and here Dunk says the brown tent beneath the red stallion could only belong to Sir Otho Bracken, who was called the Brute of Bracken, since slain Lord Quentin Blackwood 3 years past during a tourney at King's Landing. Dunk heard Sir Otho struck so hard with the blunted long axe that he staved in the visor of Lord Blackwood's helm and the face beneath it. He saw some Blackwood banners as well, on the west edge of the meadow, as distant from Sir Otho as they could be, and then like a bunch of other people he saw that aren't related to that thing, but basically these guys even set up tents. Yeah, they set up. I mean, this was 100 years before Rob.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. And in Rob's, they still hate each other.
So I thought that this was the original. Like I thought that guy killing the other guy in the tournament was like where this feud started. But I think it goes back like even further. Like when I looked it up for the Rob chapter, I think
that would make sense as to why he smashed his head in.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, because they're usually more friendly, I think, than that.
Yep, but then we get a few more people. Some of them we've heard of again. We've heard of already. Marbrand, Mallister, Cargill, Westerling, Swan, Mullendore, Hightower, Florent, Frey, Penrose, Stokeworth, Derry, Perrin, Wild. So again, we've heard of no Starks. Not really many Northern Lords at all. This tournament's also in the Reach, which is pretty south. It's like not quite near Dorne, but it's like right above Dorne. It's like Hightower land, I think.
None of that means anything to me. I'm sorry. I can't picture them.
Let's give me a sec.
If I had to take a guess, I think it's right where Rob and the Lannisters were just doing all their fighting.
You guys see this map right here?
Yes.
But this is where we're going out towards the Reach.
Yeah, this is very south, right? So this is where Ashford Meadow is. King's Landing would be like up here, right? Here's the Blackwater Rush. So like, if you follow this river, pretty south of King's Landing.
So where is Renly at then? Is he on this?
He'd be
Renly is actually, I think, near
I
think he's right here at Bitterbridge. Yeah, so Storm's End, where Renly is from, is like off to the right of what we're looking at now. And Highgarden right here is where the Tyrells are at, so Marjorie and Loras. So
that's what married into, right?
Yep, so I think they met pretty much in the middle around here.
And then Dorne, this is Dorne, right?
Dorne is pretty much everywhere south of the Red Mountains. Yep, so like these gray areas, this is all Dorne down here, and it goes more to the right.
Which gets mentioned at the end.
Yep. I mean, even there's people, anything you hear from the marches, Dornish marches, they're lords from here, which is like technically Dorne, even though it's above the mountains, I think.
All right, where are we coming back into?
So we just went through the names. So basically, Dunk says, I'm not fucking staying here, and he goes and finds another spot. He finds like a pretty...
he feels he doesn't deserve to be among this company. Like, he doesn't feel worthy.
Yeah, he said they'll be outright scorned, and someone will be friendly, and he feels like that'll be even worse. Which I don't know, because later on, there's pretty much one guy who's friendly to him. And that guy ends up kind of being a goat. Raymond.
But at the end of it, everybody's pretty friendly to him.
I mean,
there's two
like,
schools of thought
when they
here.
think he's when they think he's just like a useless hedge knight, everyone just like, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here. I don't care. Raymond Fosway is the only one that, like, I don't know. I think it really gives a fuck about him until he gets in trouble.
He's not even a knight
exactly,
himself,
but like, I don't know.
So there's two schools of thought here, and I think everyone listening has been in a situation. Like, for me, it's very like the coaches convention. Okay, and I'm sure I'll just make it really quick. You get into this huge convention center of just people, right, of all different levels, from Division I Power 5 coaches to me, Division III community college, the whole type of deal. So the first time going in, being like this little ass D3 coach, like, you could be like, I'm just gonna like chill with my guys, like off to the side, like not really. Or there's people that just like, bam, shake hands, blah blah blah, right in the mix, like try and find people. Like,
but here, Dunk is saying that's bad. He said he's thinking that the people that are friendly are the ones you have to watch out for more. And I'm saying that's not true with what happens.
And I'm
later.
thinking like people that like go and like hand out, here's my resume. Like, you know, it's just like, too much. Like, I'm here with my boys right now, like hanging out and drinking. Like,
you're saying stay low key, be chill.
You kind of got to be in the middle. You got to be willing to shake a couple hands, but you don't belong there, kid. And I think he does the right thing.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like he like I said before, he doesn't feel worthy to stay with them yet, because he doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah,
that's his own feelings. And then it's like the outsider as well. Like, I mean, he's got the outsider syndrome kind of thing, where, like, you know, he's, like I said, he knows all these people, but they know him as a squire, and like
even then, like,
they don't even know him.
Yeah.
They don't remember him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not worthy of remembering, and like for him to just show up and feel like he deserves to be in their company is kind of, he thinks at least, that it's insulting to them.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So he goes to camp. What's his camp like?
It's a tree.
It's actually a pretty sweet spot. It sounds
not
like.
bad.
Sounds like a cool spot. Like, if you just don't mind sleeping on nothing.
Just there's like a bend in a brook that forms like a nice little pool where it's like, I guess, like at least deep enough that he can, like, when he squats, can get his whole body wet, because he cleans himself, because the old man used to tell him you gotta bathe at least once a moon turn, which, what I tell you guys,
once a month.
So don't staying clean.
And the other quote about it was, even if you don't smell that sour. Like, what? Like, how do you not smell that sour?
And when he gets out, even after, like, his bathe is, he just jumps in the freaking pool. And then when he gets out, he takes the clothes that he was just wearing and just smacks them against a tree to knock most of the dirt off and puts them back on. The life of a hedge knight is a little bit rough.
Like, it's no wonder no one wants to talk to you. You smell like shit.
Yeah.
Basically.
So then he's laying there naked, and he looks at a dragonfly, and he's like, why the fuck do they call it a dragonfly? Doesn't look anything like a dragon. He's like, I don't know what a fucking dragon looks like, though. But he says the old man saw a dragon when he was when the old man was a boy. The old man saw a dragon in King's Landing.
But it was the last dragon.
The last one.
Like, crippled and
smaller than a cat.
And its eggs never hatched. Smaller than, did they say smaller than a cat?
Maybe it's a dog. Maybe it's smaller.
Later, they definitely say the smallest dragon skull. I think in the Game of Thrones, they've already said this. That the smallest dragon, like Viserys says this, that the smallest dragon skulls are smaller than cats at the end. But
I didn't remember that.
That made me think, it's definitely in the show. I don't know if it's in the books, which makes me wonder if it's even true.
They've mentioned like, by the end of it, they were smaller.
They definitely
than dogs,
mentioned, because they said that the skulls in the throne room got smaller, I think, as they went away. Whatever. They definitely got way smaller. But I was thinking it, when they said that her eggs never hatched. So, like, on her egg, these fucking dragon eggs look like chicken eggs? Because Dany's eggs are like fucking ostrich eggs, right? But if the dragons are smaller than cats, how the fuck are they laying ostrich-sized dragon eggs? No wonder they're not hatching.
Oh, they're not laying that.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's proportional to the being that is laying it. That's why they get smaller and smaller.
Because the eggs keep getting smaller and smaller. Which came last, the dragon or the dragon egg? You know?
No, I mean, I'm sure that a larger dragon could come out of a smaller egg.
Which is also with their history, like, they just started
grow into one,
They started getting smaller when they just started locking them up.
I'm just saying, with animals, that doesn't happen on that size of scale. Like, Kyle's just talking about it with dragons as if, like, that's cool, and you can just, like, totally, like, you can just give out little eggs, and they just still work the same. Like, if an ostrich plopped out a chicken-sized egg, I don't think a miniature ostrich would have. I don't think it works like that. I mean, dragons are fake,
wouldn't live. It just wouldn't survive. It probably...
You'd have to slowly breed an ostrich down small enough that it started laying chicken-sized eggs. It's not like it's just popping out of a big, like
You're right.
a large, giant.
Yeah, it's not just like a defect
egg.
Egg. Yeah, it's like a bred egg. Yeah, okay. So he's laying there, thinking about the dragons.
Next day.
Yeah,
Did he start thinking about
the same night. That night he sells some errand runs.
He's got to take care of some stuff. He needs armor.
So he goes back in,
compete.
Gets a sausage, watches the puppet show. He thinks it's cool. Doesn't have any money to give her though. So
loved what's her name?
Tansel. We don't know there yet, but yeah.
Tansel Tutal. Oh.
Loves the girl.
Well, he mentions her.
He finds her later.
Her name, yeah, but that's all.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We know her name. So then he goes and finds the armor, steely pate. This guy's like, I ain't got fucking fancy shit, nothing, no flowers and dragons or anything on the top. He's like, just a good steel.
And they bring that up because when he's walking through, he mentions like everybody's got ornate shit, right?
Yeah. It's a show of money for sure.
And we get to a little bit later when I don't have a ton of notes on this one. Dunk's going through all the highlights of the tournament. The Laughing Storm Lionel Baratheon, who again, I don't know the exact ancestry, but probably like Stefan's dad, so Robert's grandfather. Every time he would beat somebody, he would break off whatever thing they had on top of their helmet and throw it to the commons. So they said that people with shit on top of their helmet stopped tapping his shield.
Yeah, they stopped fighting, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't cheap to get that.
It just seems like such a Robert thing to do, you know?
It's like, oh, what are you gonna do? Fight me again? Like you just got your ass kicked.
Well, it was his armor at that point anyway.
Exactly. But again, so the thing is, the way, like Jeff said earlier, the way it normally works is once I have your armor, like
you buy it back.
You would just buy it back. So you buy it back, and now you have to get rid of that. That helmet's no good, regardless, you know. So he gets the sausage, gets the armor, puts in the money for the armor. What the guy wants
800 silvers.
Guy wants 800. Donk's like, what if I trade you in some small armor too? And he's like, I only do my own, but I can use the scrap metal. Lowers it to 600. Dunk somehow gets a down payment of 2 on the 600 plate of set of armor.
I mean, so
till tomorrow.
To the point of like it's a down payment. He doesn't get anything in his hands that day.
Yeah,
right. So it's not like the armor is not like gonna lose out on like a fresh plate or a fresh suit.
Yeah, he's not running off.
Yeah, because Dunk leaves with nothing but his word that he's coming back with the rest tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know how he's getting 598.
We don't, but like there's like little hints of it the whole like leading up for the next little bit how he's gonna get the money. But right before he leaves, it doesn't really make sense. Like at first, like wait, he's just gonna win to make the money? That doesn't make sense.
That's what I thought.
Because he tells him like, he's like, you'll get it all. I mean to be the champion here. And Pate's like, do you? And all these other people, I guess they're just here to cheer you on. Like, no shit.
You're the only one here for that.
Yeah, like no shit. Yeah. No shit, big dog. So he leaves. He goes back to and again, we haven't really found out. I don't think they've explained the rules of the joust yet, like fully, like how he's gonna lose shit.
He talks to the dude and is signing up.
But he keeps thinking to himself, like, but if I lose this joust, I'm fucked. Like, I'm fucked big time.
No, well, he says, I just need to win one.
He keeps saying that, yeah, but like, you don't understand like what that means yet.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And this is definitely something I talked about in the first one, and we could get into it later. But I'll see what Kyle thinks about it. It's kind of like, if you go in with nothing, you have nothing to lose. Like if you wanted to, would they let you ride in this thing with just a shield and lance? Because like what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like it's just, yeah.
But if you're fucking good, if you're really fucking good, and you know you're gonna win, then I guess if you know you're gonna win, why not ride in armor anyway? But
if you're really down on your luck, sure you're gonna win, just take everything.
If you're suicidal, in Westeros, why not do that? Just challenge the richest motherfucker, challenge the prince. If you win, you're fucking loaded. His armor has to have jewels all over it.
Yeah.
But you also will probably get hanged for just embarrassing the prince by beating him with nothing. But
like, I would say maybe you don't wear like full toe to like waist, but like you're gonna want to wear chest and head gear.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And arms.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
if we want to go
like,
as minimalistic as you can, like you want to
you show
wear
up with your
chest and
dick
head.
flapping out.
I've watched
chasing your
videos. I'm
horse.
pretty sure there's special jousting like lower halves that aren't like they don't really protect your back, the back of your legs as much.
Right, Nelson?
What?
You show up with your dick flapping around.
Chasing
Just
your
like
horse.
Don Toast, yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes back to camp. He's thinking about losing the joust.
Bam! Who's there?
He said, well, he thinks that he's the old man. He thinks about the old
He
man.
thinks he's getting robbed.
Well, he thinks about the old man real quick. He thinks the old man hasn't competed in any tournaments lately. He says he doesn't think he has ever since he broke 7 lances while jousting against the fiercest knight in the 7 kingdoms, the Prince of Dragonstone. And he says he doesn't joust anymore because how could he ever hope to do better than that? So why would he try? So again, we don't know what that means at the time. Jeff hopefully did, but like we know later the Prince of Dragonstone is Baelor, the guy who is kind of like the main good dude and seems like on the Targaryen side for like the second half of this book.
Heir to the throne.
In this story comes up later when Dunk confronts this guy the first time.
Yeah,
it actually helps him.
It helps him.
Saves his life, or not saves his life, but it allows him. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So he gets back to camp and Egg's there, just doing all the work. Washes his clothes.
He thinks he's being robbed. He like shows up and there's like somebody.
Yeah.
Because he's got his hood up. Yeah, he comes out with his sword up, about ready to fuck him up.
About to kill an 8-year-old.
Or Egg gives him shit, right? Doesn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know. Egg's just like, hey, yeah, I washed your clothes. I'm cooking. He's cooking fish.
Oh,
like, hey, do you want fish?
He doesn't give him shit. He just like ignores him completely. He's like not worried about him killing him.
And then Dunk says he feels like an idiot standing there with a sword over top of like an 8-year-old or whatever. So when we get Dunk's age, he's 8. So he's like
Egg's age. You said
yeah, Egg's age. Sorry, he's like between Bran and Arya. I think is that right? And he kind of, I feel like we kind of get like, he kind of acts like a mix of both of them. I feel like, right? He's like all geeked up about knights like Bran was and probably still is.
No, I don't know if Bran is anymore.
Well, not anymore, but like in the first chapter, Bran's first chapter.
Bran was only geeked up because he wanted to be a knight. Like once that he knew that couldn't happen, like he was like, fuck that.
So does Egg though, right? Kind of.
Yeah, Egg's geeked up.
He wants to be a fighter at least.
Yeah.
And Arya's just a badass bitch.
Wants to be a fighter. Yeah, I mean,
does whatever she wants.
And she talks back to people like Dunk, like Egg talks back to Dunk, which I think is like. I mean, he talks back to Dunk because he's probably highborn and like doesn't know his place, which I feel like probably is why Arya talks back to people too, because she's used to being able to do that.
Probably,
for sure. Like she talks back to the Septa, like the Septa kind of is like a servant to her. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a huge spoiler. I think Kyle maybe doesn't see the parallels between Arya as much, but like the next book for Arya is like, at least for the next couple of chapters, she's going to be hiding as a highborn person pretending to be lowborn, and that's like the Dunk and Egg novellas are kind of this, right? We see at the end of this book where this is going, and we kind of get like repeat little stories like this where they're in these roles. So like that's I think why I get the Arya vibe. But I love Arya, so I love it. But yeah. Egg's doing a great job, and he's like, "What happened to your hair?" And he's like, "Oh, the maester shaved it off." Which again seems like a giveaway of who he is. Like, I feel like a lowborn doesn't have access to maesters, or
that is true. All right,
that's a good point.
But Dunk says, "Oh, I heard they do that when you have lice or something." So maybe they do have. Maybe there's like a common maester. I mean, how else would people get treated like any type of
maybe
like the maester, like going to the doctor?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe like the smaller castles, they're
we don't really hear about
available. Yeah, like maybe like Maester Lewin would have like helped some kid out in Winterfell.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
Like Dunk.
not Grand Maester of King's Landing unless you're a prince.
Yeah,
like you're not getting in the castle to get your head shaved.
So again, when that happens, Egg pulls his hood up because again he's like trying to hide the fact. Even at one point, I don't know if it's here or later, Dunk notices that Egg has really really blue eyes, almost purple.
Yeah, it was. I think it was about there.
And I think Egg asked Dunk what his name is. Yeah. And Dunk's like Dunk, and Egg's like, "What the fuck? That's like a name."
He's like, "Fuck, I'm supposed to be Sir Duncan."
Well, Egg just gives him the out. He's like, "Oh, is it short for Duncan?" He's like, "Oh yeah, of course it is. It's short for Duncan."
He's such a fool.
Like Dunk doesn't even know his own name, doesn't know his own age.
Like, I'm not from anywhere good. Where am I from? I could claim this place, but that's the old man.
Well, this might have been earlier too, but Egg's like, "Don't make me take you home," or maybe it's later, and he's like, "You'll have to take me back to King's Landing." Then Egg thinks Dunk's talking about the inn, and he's like, "You'll take me back to King's Landing," and Dunk's like, "Is he making fun of me? Because that's where I came from." And then again, that comes up at the end. And then he says Sir Duncan of, Flea Bottom. I can't say that. Penny Tree. That's not really where I'm from. I don't even know where the fuck that is, so I can't say that. So then he just ends up with Sir Duncan the Tall. Pretty sweet name. I had that hoodie. I wear that hoodie all the time.
Yeah, you need to get a new one. I was thinking like
it's
when
super
your
worn out, right?
When's your birthday? Yeah, you need a new one. It's so faded, you can't even tell. All right, so he gets his name, Sir Duncan the Tall, and this is when Dunk starts asking questions about who Egg is.
Yeah,
and we get that his name is Egg, and he's like, you know what, your head kind of looks like an egg. Like just like kind of another
and
thing.
His
like,
boys pick on each other, so he doesn't want to like question it. So he just like lets it, doesn't even say anything about it. He's like, all right, cool. He's like, you can be the squire for the tourney, and if everything goes well, we'll see what happens after that. And you can see that Dunk's pretty happy from that. Egg falls asleep. Dunk watches the stars. One fell as he was watching, a bright green streak that flashed across the black, then was gone. A falling star brings luck to him who sees it, Dunk thought, but the rest of them are all in their pavilions by now, staring up at silk instead of sky, so the luck is mine alone. Little foreshadow piece, and a cool thing for a sigil later.
What do you think it's foreshadowing, Nelson?
His good luck. He's going to win.
Just good luck? Okay.
All right, so he wakes up, and this is when he's got to do a bunch of shit. He's got to sell. We find out he wants to sell the horse to the master of stables of Ashford. They don't even want it, so he's got to go find somebody else.
There's a lot that happened before that, but yeah, his goal, one of the first things is register for the tournament and sell Sweetfoot. So he goes to register for the tournament, talks to the master of games.
And they don't believe he's a true knight. They have no proof that he's a true knight. No one knows him.
They don't seem
somebody vouch.
They don't seem super suspicious, right?
They're just like, you need somebody to vouch for you. That's all.
Well, they're even like, who are you? Sir Dunk the Tall? Like, doesn't make any sense. So, like, go get a knight, bring him back to us.
Are you really a knight? And he's like, starts nodding. He says he wonders if his ears were red. And he's like, what's your name? He's like, who, like, how did you become knighted? And he says, like, oh, I just got knighted from the sky right before he died. He's like, ask all these people, they'll know me. And the steward's like, I don't.
Well,
I've never
he doesn't
heard.
say they'll know him. They say they'll know Sir Alan.
Well, no, they said they might remember me too.
Maybe.
I think he says that for some of them.
Maybe.
And the guy's like, I've never heard of him. You got to find somebody else to vouch for you. And then this is where we
he
find out the
remembers,
tourney rules. We've already talked about it, but this is where we find out the tourney rules the first time. If you lose your shit, you're fucked because you'll have nothing. Right? Dunk is literally putting all his money into his armor and his one horse. Yeah, if he's fucked, he's fucked. He even thinks, so I think once he sells the horse, he's like, I could just dip right now and be richer than I've ever been in my fucking life, live like a king for a year. He's like, but then what would I do? I'd become a thief.
Well, not really. Like,
he doesn't have a horse, he doesn't have armor anymore.
He still has thunder.
No. Oh, yeah, I guess he does. He would, yeah.
He still has two horses. He has a sword.
The one is pretty useless for anything except for carrying materials. The suede back stud is like fucked. Chestnut's fucked, yeah.
It's basically a donkey, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But he has thunder. He has a sword. He doesn't have any armor except the old man's armor. So, like, he'd probably have to hedge knight till, like, or sell sword for a little bit. But he's not, like, fucked.
Yeah. So then it goes to what you were saying, Jeff. He goes to the master horse. And one cool quote on the way there, he says, the old man always said that the knight should never love a horse, since more than a few were like to die under him. But he never heeded his own counsel. Dunk often seen him spend his last copper on an apple for old chestnut or some oats for Sweetfoot or thunder. So, like, again, we never saw old man, but old man seems like a good guy, taking care of his horses.
You see the lessons he taught.
Dunk's a good guy, yeah.
Too, yeah.
So he goes. He's able to strike a bargain. Hold
on. Something happens while he's waiting for the master of horse.
Yeah, so he runs into a Targaryen.
Okay, I thought he sold the horse
first. He's a stable boy. Yeah, and he just talks down to him the whole fucking time. He's a real big dickhead.
Yeah, and Dunk thinks it's Valar. We know later it's Arion, the same guy who does all the evil shit.
Are cousins, right? They're not even
exactly. They're cousins. Yeah. We got to pull up the family tree at some point.
One thing, Kyle, I don't know how well you did with the Targaryen family tree. I was so mentally fucked going through the different Targaryens the first time.
No, Arion is Darren's brother, right? Or no, he thinks it's Valar. Okay, which is, you're right, that is his brother.
He thinks it's Valar or Mataris. Mataris isn't in here, but you can see him on the family tree. The red people are who's here. I think I might have missed one or two. Daron isn't here, but he's the king. They mentioned him a bunch of times, so he's in red too. He's the father of Maekar and Baelor. But yeah, Valar, that's who Dunk thinks it is, but it's not. It's Aeron who's the dickhead later. But yeah, so they're cousins, and Arion and Daron, the drunk one, are both brothers to Egg. Egg is the youngest out of the brothers, the four, and Maester Aemon is Egg's like closest brother.
And who's
See,
that? Citadel?
Aegon, the Mad King.
That's
No,
Aerys.
that's Aerys.
That's Aerys.
Aerys. I keep doing that.
So we're like a whole generation.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I
also the
thought so.
fourth son
That's
of
why I
a
was
fourth
confused.
son. So
Got it. Anyway, so then he goes back to actually find somebody to sell the horse to, and he makes a deal.
Yep.
He feels like he got robbed, but he's like, if the next day I go back to buy it back, it's going to be twice the price.
yeah,
He loved the horse at first until I tried to sell it to him.
It's
Kind of
also
deal.
just interesting that, like, do you really need this horse? Like, I guess you don't want to ride Thunder around every day, like in your travels. You just don't want to wear one horse down.
yeah, I think
but,
that's exactly what it is.
Well, and Thunder never gets ridden much anyway. That's what he's saying.
Right.
He's
just in
use.
battle. He
Yeah.
knows how to fucking run straight
Like
ahead.
I think the problem is if Thunder breaks a leg while you're walking on a trail because Dunk's on his back, it's fucked, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So Dunk actually sees two Kingsguard in the yard before he goes, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" So he goes up to him, and he's like, "Are you guys gonna fight?" And they're like, "Nah, that wouldn't be good because there's princes competing. We can't fight against people we're sworn to protect, so we're not gonna fight. Like, don't worry about that." And Dunk's like, "Whew, thank God I don't have to fight those guys." Again, gonna have to fight those
Which
guys.
again,
later.
like
That's some foreshadowing. Yeah.
with the format of the tournament, he could have picked somebody else. He just picked somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, Dunk
So
could have.
it just lowers your chances of not great people.
Depends on
being
who.
up
Yeah,
there.
exactly. You don't want. Yeah, it just lowers your exactly.
You went from like 5 out of 5 to 2 out of 5 that you don't want to face. But
So on his way to get his armor, he watches another puppet show, gives Tansel 2 silver, sells her ones for last night because I didn't have any money yesterday, but now I do. Now I'm fucking balling. Goes gets his armor from Pate.
Steely.
Yeah, Steely Pate. I don't even think it talks about him going back to the camp. It just like cuts to. Oh, he also asked her on a date, and she like runs away. And he feels like an idiot. He's like, "Oh, you want to go get some beer?" She's like, "I can't. There's another show." And giggles and runs away. And he's like, "I feel like an idiot."
sometimes you gotta shoot your shot, Don. Keep shooting.
Oh wait, he sees the Fossway. This is where we see the Fossway brothers the first time. They're fighting. Basically the gist is Stefan's
Stefan
an
wants to
asshole.
call out Dunk, and like Dunk's like, you know what? Like, I'm probably not even ready for this fight. I'm not even going to give it to any. And we find out little Raymond Fossway,
who is encouraging
like,
Dunk at first, like fight him. And
Yeah,
then later
fuck
he's
this
like, my
guy.
bad.
and he's like, he just wants to figure out like
Your weaknesses
he
will
wants to
you.
hurt people.
Yeah.
He wants to hurt people. Yeah. So
Yep. Then he goes and gets his armor. Goes back and sees Egg, and then I think what's the next part? It goes just right to the tourney.
they talk about his armor real quick. Yeah, I mean the difference between like
Dunk says there's no helmet, there's no fancy shit on the helmet and stuff.
no visor. It's just like eye slits, and they kind of go into little stories about like, oh, you ever hear of a guy getting shot in the eye while opening his visor up, and it's a weak point in his helmet.
Yeah, I didn't go through the book for the second half. You get a picture of his helmet, right? There's like
Yeah,
it's like solid and there's like holes in it.
Yeah.
That's freaking badass, dude. So we also get, I don't know exactly where it is, but in here somewhere we get a explanation of the tournament.
Yep.
What's the setup here?
It's like a 5-wide jousting field, pretty much. There's 5 protectors of the daughter, essentially. And
13.
And they,
Is she like being given
What?
away? She's 13.
I think it's just like a 13 name day. It was like a birthday.
This is a huge tournament,
She's
bro.
probably, they might, say like a family wins. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, oh, let's set up a marriage for her.
Oh, okay, Kyle, go on. Explain the rest of the tournament.
it's more of just to proclaim that she's like the most beautiful, like in the land.
Well, go
kind of
explain
thing.
the
Like,
tournament, because that's not necessarily how it ends up.
I know, but that's what it's saying. So like they have the 5 defenders, and then like so you pretty much play till you lose. So like you got to keep fighting challengers until you're out, and then they take your place. So it's like a knockout WWE.
It's like Royal Rumble. Yeah,
kind of deal.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's like the
exactly.
worst type of setup because the first people in there have zero
Like
chance.
yeah, exactly. The first 5, who some of them were like really good people.
Yeah.
Like they're princes and lords and stuff, and like you have the worst chance to win. So Dunk's gonna go the next day. He's like, fuck this first day stuff. Like, go the next day.
It's not even the next day. You said it's just third
Third
day.
day. And I don't know if it's even his option. I think it's just pretty
if
much
you
like the
even
lowest
think
of the
of
low
Dunk-
go the last.
Which is dumb. You would think they would go first.
Yeah. Again, I think it's like more honorable, right? If you
To fight through people.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. To Dunk's strategy, once he would become champion from winning one,
Potentially.
he's gonna lose at some point.
That's okay as long as you win one.
Why?
Because he would have a set of armor.
Well, as long as Dunk's armor costs less than whoever he's going against, which is probably going to happen because he's poor as fuck. So like say I'm Dunk and I'm poor as fuck. My armor costs $600. I'm going against you. You're not poor as fuck. Your armor costs $1,200. I win. Now I got $1,200 when you bought it back. I lose. Now I lost $600. I'm still plus $600 on the tournament.
Okay. I'm thinking you.
He can
Okay.
cover
You
his
have
loss,
the coin. You take the coin. You sell that.
The only
shit,
thing
you
is his
sell your
armor
shit
might
back.
exactly. The only thing is his armor might be more expensive. His armor might be more expensive than even some smaller, fancy-looking armor because he's so big. Like if it's just like way to steal, I'm sure it's way more for him. He's huge, dude.
I gotcha. I'm sure we talked about that in length last time too. And
I'm not sure.
The Undertaker.
So the last thing that I was getting at is at the end of the whole tournament, the 5, it said that they confer amongst themselves and pick a new Queen of Love and Beauty,
Or they can pick her.
or they can rename the daughter.
That's the point of it all, Nelson. Is
And again, we don't really hear the outcome of this, but again, it just kind of like we've heard about a tournament where there was like some Queen of Love and Beauty discrepancy.
There's some big name. Oh, what's that? Oh yeah, with
First
the
off,
hand
like
and the rose at the end.
yeah, that one. But like even like Sansa, right, gets named Queen of Love and Beauty, or I guess that's not Queen of Love and Beauty, but she gets handed a rose by Loras Tyrell at the hands tourney.
Yeah.
I feel like they name her. It's like the maid of something, or like it's
Well,
definitely
that wasn't
a title.
the end. That was I thought so, but that wasn't the end of the
He
tournament.
just says like you're the prettiest girl here or something like
Yeah,
that.
he might have said something like that, but that wasn't the end of the tournament. There was more jousts after that.
But
So
Rhaegar, isn't that the
yeah,
other one then?
yeah. So it just seems like again like another common theme between tournaments is again if it's centered a
It's
Queen of Love and Beauty or
the most beautiful girl.
giving roses to girls or whatever.
Goes through the first day. There's a bunch of big fights.
Too many fights to too much details to even talk about. Egg's really involved. Egg knows pretty much. Like Egg is so informative on the people. Like he knows their weaknesses. He knows who's stronger.
Well, hold on, we skipped a
Wait,
big part.
there's one in the past.
Well, again, I'm trying to. You guys are right. We got to speed this up, but we just skipped a big part where he's not admitted into the tournament yet. He tries to go talk to Dondarrion. Dondarrion's like, I don't fucking know you.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, do we know any Dondarrions in our story?
Yes, but I don't remember.
He's the guy that Ned sends out to kill the mountain. He's in charge of that.
Barrack. Yeah,
Barrack. He's in charge of that group. We hear where their sigil came from. Kind of badass. He was
The lightning bolt.
He was taking a message from place to place. Yeah, lightning bolt killed his 2 people because he didn't have a sword. Then he got raised to a lord. Then Dunk goes in, can't find the steward. Oh fuck, the steward's in the Great Hall with everyone who's important. He's there with Baelor, Maekor, Lord Ashford, and then the steward. And Dunk comes up and he's listening to an argument. Again, you probably don't fully understand the argument the first time, especially because you don't really know who all these people are. Jeff, did you even were you like, oh, that's Maekor and Baelor when you read this? I read this book at least 5 times at this point, so like I knew, like I don't know how close Jeff is though.
Yeah, the second time I was like, yeah, I remember who these people were, but
at least a close gist. And basically, Maekor in this argument, he's saying, "My sons are gone." He's like, "It's easy for you to say both your your son is about to be the champion, in this, like not the champion, but like whatever they call it, the person that starts as the champion in this tournament, Villar, and my son's fucking drunk." And Baylor's like, "Calm down, he'll be back." And Maekor's like, "Yeah, maybe not before the tournament though." And he's like, "Don't worry about it. You still got Arion. And Arion's a way better jouster than Daemon is anyway." And again, Daemon is the drunk one who took.
Is it Daron?
Daron is the drunk one that took Egg, and Arion is the asshole one. And
Aemon's at the Citadel, and Egg is a little kid that's squiring for a no name.
Yeah, and Baylor's like, Arion's better anyway. And Dunk's like, oh fuck, I should not be here. Like these guys are talking about some shit I should not be here. And he turns around, and Maekor's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And
Maekor seems like a dick too. Like the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
And Baelor's like, oh no, like Baelor, the fucking goat, is the one who's like, we knew about this. And he tells Maekor, he's like, shut up. We knew that the steward was waiting to see a knight. We're the intruders. Baelor says, like the fucking prince says that. He's a humble ass dude. And he's like, what's the deal? And he's like, yeah, basically no one would vouch for me. Lucky as fuck, Baelor's this dude who knows exactly who.
I fought Arlen.
He's like, I know Arlen. He's like, he never won a tourney that I know of, but he never shamed himself. He won at King's Landing 16 years ago against the Bastard of Harrenhal in a melee. Many years before that, he beat the Grey Lion. And Dunk's like, oh, I know that story. And he's like, you'll remember who the Grey Lion's name is. Grey Lion's in this. He's also like at this tournament.
He's in the tournament. Yeah, he's one of the first. He's one of the first competitors. Yeah,
it's Lannister, right?
Yeah, he's obviously Lannister. Him and his brother, him and his own son, his son is, I think, Tywin's grandfather, joust against the two people. I'm not sure exactly who it is. But yeah, he's like, so you'll know the Grey Lion's name, and Dunk's like, fuck, I'm such an idiot. Why can't I remember this guy's name? And then he remembers
when we get the first like Dunk the Lunk as thick as a trunk or
thick as a castle wall?
Not quite. He says Dunk doesn't quite realize I don't think he doesn't realize it's Baelor yet, right? Because he tells a story later about Arlen and Baelor. He's like, no, you're wrong. It was the Prince of Dragonstone. And he's like, oh, wait, that's you.
Yeah.
So he gets the name right, and he's like, yep, you might be right. He's he's actually going to enter the list tomorrow. And Maekor starts making fun of Baelor. He's like, how the fuck do you remember such an insignificant Hedge knight? And he's like, well, 9 years passed, celebrate the birth of a grandson. He was my opponent in the list, and we broke 4 lances against each other. 7, insists Dunk, and it was against Prince of Dragonstone. No sooner than the words were out than he wanted them back. Dunk the Lunk, thick as a castle wall. He could hear the old man chiding. Did they say that multiple times in this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like a big thing.
Dunk said it to himself like 7 times in the next 10 pages.
I didn't read like the second half this time. I only listened to it. But that's a big thing they say. Like the rest of it. Dunk always says to himself every time he does something stupid. Dunk things got a wall. So yeah, I think that's a cool. When that even again, there's a lot of names, and it's confusing the first time you read it. Like when that happened, Kyle, do you remember like was it clicking for you? You're like, oh shit, like who some of these people were?
I had no idea who he was.
That he was like really important. You know that
I mean, they pitched him as important.
You knew that like it was in a time where Targaryens were the king.
I didn't get I didn't grasp the breadth of it.
Because it's 100 years ago, so it's before the Robert shit that we know took place. So it's all Targaryens.
I understand now.
Okay. When did that click for you?
When did it click?
Yeah.
I mean, when he realized here, obviously, who it was. I mean, I knew he was talking to like some important people, but I didn't realize just who they were at first.
Yeah.
So Baelor is and again, we saw in the family tree, Baelor is the oldest son of an old ass king. Like the king right now is like 60 or something like that, and Baelor is almost 30 or maybe a little bit older than 30.
So he's pretty close.
So he's the next in line. Dunk even says that, I think, in this conversation. He's like,
Dunk's
the old man always says
was always like, you're gonna be a great king when.
And he's like, not too
comes.
soon, I hope, because you're asking for my dad's
sorry.
death. Yeah. Exactly. And Maekor, the younger brother who's yelling at him here, again, for just some more context, we know it's his brother. It's his 4th brother. So, like, again, heir to the throne,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Maekor is behind all of Baelor's kids, all of Baelor's brothers' kids, all of Baelor's other brothers' kids, and then Maekor. Right? So, like, again, there's not, like, a huge distance in authority, but heir to the throne prince.
Versus
the long down the line prince.
So, long story short, Nelson, stop me.
Go ahead.
Baelor says, Dunk, all right, like, I got your back. Like, you can enlist.
He's like, it's not really up to me, but I would let you do it. And then at that point, of course, the
Ashford guy's not going to say no. So
it's not even really. He says it's up to the steward. He doesn't even say it's up to Lord Ashford. He says it's up to the steward. So obviously, yeah.
So they go. Can we get to the first day of the tournament?
Yep. I think there's the weird Tansel too tall interaction where she says, "You're not too tall. You're just right." Oh, and there's
and this is where we get the.
She's
shield
also interacting
too,
the Florian and Jonquil, which I don't know if you guys remember this, but we definitely talked about. This is one of Sansa's favorite stories. You get I didn't take that much notes on it, but you actually get some of the story here if you like listen to what they're saying. Yeah. And at the one point is that they say, all knights are fools and all fools are knights or something like that.
All men are knights.
All men are knights and all men are fools. She says that to Dunk at one point when he's like. It might be when she's like, oh, I need you to point. Oh, yeah. Baelor tells her he needs a sigil. He's like, oh, I need you to paint the sigil. She's like, what do you want? He's like, I don't know. You must think I'm a fool. And she's like, all men are fools. All men are knights.
Yeah. Yeah. She drops it on him right after.
Yeah. So then I think the next, it cuts. So the next day at the tournament, right?
Yeah. So they get out there. It's all set up.
Who are the 5 champions?
Valar.
Okay. That's good. Humphrey Harding.
And then two brothers.
Two brothers. And then Leo Tyrell. Yep. So the first round, they all pass each other, but nobody falls, and all their lances break, which is supposed to be good luck. Great tournament, right? Then people start losing and winning. Both of the Ashfords, who are the lords at the Newcastle Suns. They lose, but they did fucking good against some good ass people. So
the guy's proud of them.
Yeah, no one's upset. Then the Gray Line loses. Lord Tully loses. A Hightower loses. And the ones who had beat the Suns were the Laughing Storm, the Baratheon, who breaks off people's shit, and again, Tywin's like grandfather or great grandfather.
Yeah. I want to say one thing too, because I don't know. I definitely didn't know this. Like, this isn't a normal joust. Like, once you get knocked off your horse, it's stand up and keep fighting.
Sometimes, I guess. It's like if you want to.
It's fight till you're done fighting.
Yeah, I guess.
Which I never heard of until this book. Like, usually jousting is jousting. You get knocked off your horse, you lose.
Again, that's something we talked about in the first podcast, and I want to get Kyle's opinion on it. I think they say at one point that like somebody falls down and gets up, like gets knocked down, but gets up with their sword or whatever, and their opponent gets off their horse to be honorable or something like that.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
But could you? You knocked him down. Could you keep the advantage?
Just run him down?
Yeah, just keep the advantage. You fucking won already.
You probably could.
Yeah. I think that'd be fair. Like if
it's
it's dunk, but if it's dunk, and it's like, well, there's $1,000 that I need that.
If it's dunk, you ride that motherfucker down.
Okay. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So then we get a couple other people. We get but just a bunch of people I don't even really care about. Somebody from Dorne, somebody from Alistair, and then a Swan.
What we find out is that Valor the Prince is fighting shitty people, and it's to the point where like people don't even really want to go against him.
Well, it's weird because like Dunk's like, I can't fight this guy, but if shitty people are fighting Valor, then Dunk, you are literally in the class of people that can fight this guy. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to, you could, because you're a shitty guy. No, people be like, who's this guy? Just like Dunk is to all these people that are fighting him.
Like, all right, Valor will deal with him.
So then we get some highlights. Again, I don't have a ton of notes on this. The thing where he's throwing people's helm in. Again, Jeff said some of it. Somebody breaks 14 lances. Somebody breaks 9 lances. I think one of the Harding, Sir Humphrey Harding, who's one of the champions, was one of the ones who started off a champion. And he's the one who rides against Aerion. Like, he had broken 9 or 14 lances total or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he rides against Aerion when Aerion shows up, who's the asshole.
The bright dragon. The
bright dragon. When he shows up, what's he do first?
He fakes like he's going to go fight, challenge the other prince. And he's like, nope, just kidding. I'll fight you.
He pretends like he's going to challenge Valor, and he doesn't. Then he picks Harding.
The picture in the book has him with a war lance. He's taking a fucking spear into it.
No, it's a fist.
No. This thing stabs right through a horse's fucking chest.
You're right. Right through the neck, yeah. It's a gross picture. Yeah, I think the artist took a few liberties. There's no way.
I think you're probably right, Nelson.
I feel like it would need to be a spear to go through a fucking horse's neck.
It could fuck up a horse's neck. It could fuck up a horse's neck. I feel like a horse should have armor there, but if it didn't, it could fuck up something.
Whatever. So, Aaron fucks up this horse. The horse ends up falling on Humphrey, breaking his leg in 2 spots. And Aaron just kind of like dickheadly like walks away. Like,
comes back.
Comes back. Kills the horse.
Jumps off his horse and starts running at Harding with the sword or whatever, as if Harding jumped up and wanted to fight, but he didn't. And the squires, Harding's squire and his own squires, had to stop him from like going and killing this guy, or like going and fighting this guy.
I thought he went and killed the horse. I'm sorry.
And in the fall, Harding broke his leg in between the horse and the fence.
Ned.
Yeah, like Ned. Yeah.
And this is like the mountain, pretty much here.
Yeah, one great thing about the audiobook for this, and it's probably not the one you listen to, Jeff, if you listen to it on YouTube, but the audiobook one, like for Audible, the voice actor is Harry Lloyd, who is the actor who plays Viserys in the TV show. So Aerion, he just does the Viserys voice for Aerion, and it's great. But Aerion has the exact same voice as Viserys, which makes sense because they're both. That you can see how they're they would be very similar characters, like total assholes.
Family,
yeah. Except obviously Viserys seems way more of a pussy. Like Aerion seems like he's actually somewhat competent, right? Like he doesn't do bad in either of his jousts. Like he puts the lance where he wants to in this one. He beats Dunk until it's a fist fight, basically in the second one. But yeah, so that ends everything, and they're like, all right, let's go get some beers.
So he walks away, and then he ends up in the tent with the Bossaways. Yeah, the Bossaways. While Egg's watching a puppet show.
Yep.
And then Egg comes running in and is like, you need to help right now. Like, something's happening to the lady.
They got the girl. They got the girl.
Raymond does say a few things. He says, like, so Maker wasn't there that day. Baelor and Lord Ashford were there, but Makor wasn't, who's Arian's dad.
He went off to look for the two boys.
He was looking for Egg and
Daron.
Raymond says that Arian would never have done that. Basically, Raymond starts trash talking Arian. Dunk's like, "Yo, dude,
he wouldn't have done that if Dad was here. Dad would have been pissed."
He's like, he would not have done exactly. He would not have done that. That's when Egg runs in. So it's kind of funny. I really like the introduction, right? So, Raymond's talking about how all of Makor's. He's like, poor Makar. He's like, Arian's an asshole. He's like, Darren's a sot. Arian is vain and cruel. The third son was so unpromising they gave him to the Citadel to make a maester of him, which again is pretty funny because we know Mace Raymond is pretty freaking cool from what we know of him from the John chapters.
So that's and then Mace Raymond.
The Mace Raymond.
So he's
100 years old. Yeah, he's like super fucking old, right?
But he's the one at King's Landing, right?
Yeah, if you reread that one chapter where he tells John,
he said
love is the death of duty. Yeah, if you read that chapter where he tells John love is the death of duty, I think you'll get a reference to Egg in that chapter, at least. But he talks about like how he's a Targaryen. He talks about like how a lot of his brothers died, and a lot of his like father, like everyone, like his whole fucking family died, right? And he gets reference to brothers at this, like I don't know if he mentions Egg, but he definitely mentions at least one of them, Arion or Daron, right? He mentions one of these people in that chapter. And we're about to get more of that in class, which is why I wanted to read this. But yeah, it's the Mace Raymond, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm. And he's old. And he's old as fuck when you think about the different generations that are
through.
100
some years old easily.
Exactly. So yeah. And he says, so the quote that Raymond is saying is, Darren's a sot, Aaron is vain and cruel. The third son was so unpromising they gave him to the Citadel to make a maester of him. And the youngest, Sir Duncan. Egg burst in panting. Which again, we all know who Egg was, but if it's not, he says the youngest, and then Egg shows up. It's even, again, this is before the reveal, so you might even miss this.
Right? Yeah, I didn't catch any of that reference, you're
right. Egg comes in and tells Dunk that Arian's hurting Tansel. Again, you knew that Egg was an egg on the fifth, right? What they say in the back of the book, but you don't know how that works in whose son he is and all that shit, right? Yeah. So we get what's going on, and Dunk goes out to deal with it. Do you want to read it, Jeff? Or Kyle?
What page?
Got to be near 74. Basically, he knocks over some men at arms, and he sees this whole scene. There's a bunch of people breaking puppets, and Arion. But like people are breaking puppets. The old fat lady who looks like Tanza worked for her, she's on the ground crying. Arion's in the middle.
And in the midst of it all stood Prince Aeron, resplendent in a red velvet doublet with long, dagged sleeves, twisting Tansel's arm in both hands. She was on her knees, pleading with him. Aeron ignored her. He forced open her hand and seized one of her fingers. Dunk stood there stupidly, not quite believing what he saw. Then he heard a crack, and Tansel screamed. One of Arion's men tried to grab him and went flying. 3 long strides, and Dunk grabbed the prince's shoulder and wrenched him around hard. His sword and dagger were forgotten, along with everything the old man had ever taught him. His fist knocked Aeron off his feet, and the toe of his boot slammed into the prince's belly. When Aeron went for his knife, Dunk stepped on his wrist and kicked him again, right in the mouth. He might have kicked him to death right then and there, but the prince's men swarmed over him. He had a man on each arm and another pounding him across the back. No sooner had he wrestled free of one than 2 more were on him.
That's when they get a hold of Dunk, and Arion's like, go ahead, Kyle?
Yeah, I was going to say he went in and beat the shit out of Arion pretty much in front of everybody.
And like you can tell like he's big as fuck and just like strong as fuck and might not know what he's doing, but he just like can throw his weight around. Yeah. Maybe this is why I like Dunk, because I maybe can relate. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I feel like because I'm big, I might stand a chance in some fights. Just like when he says like one of Arion's men tried to grab him, he went flying. Like it doesn't even say like Dunk hit him. It just says
he just like stonewalled him.
That guy's gone.
Stonewalled him away.
Yeah, exactly. So then basically once they get a hold of Dunk, Arion's like, since you loosen my teeth, we're gonna knock all yours out. And he's like, wait a minute, I fucking know you. He's like, yeah, you thought I was a stable boy. So hold on again. This is another reference. Let's see if anybody can put 2 and 2 together. Arion thinks Dunk was a stable boy.
Dunk thought Egg was
a stable boy. Oh,
Dunk thought Egg.
Well, yeah, Dunk thought
and
Egg was
Arya
a stable
killed.
boy. So
Arya killed stable boys.
Hedge Knight mistaking a Targaryen for a stable boy. Table boy mistaking Dunk for a stable boy. I don't know. Again, I think there has to be something there has to be a little intention behind that. Maybe not.
I think so.
Seems
for
cool
sure.
when you think about it. Seems
It's
cool
like
when you think
when
about it.
each character meets the other person, and it's exactly that. So
It just shows how it can go both
Yeah.
ways. Like Lowborn can mistake Highborn, Highborn can
well,
mistake Lowborn.
to be fair, Dunk came out of the river naked. Like it wasn't like he was all.
Egg came out of the river.
Yeah, I'm
naked.
sorry. Wasn't
We're all
wasn't
drinking
like
too
he was
much.
all jeweled up and shit. But
So he asked Dunk why he threw away his life for this whore, and he's like, knock this guy's teeth out and cut him open and show him the color of his entrails. And then this is when Egg comes in. He says, no, they won't. He's like, if they do, they'll answer to my father and my uncle as well. Let him go. Egg starts calling Guardsman by name. They let go of Dunk. Dunk had no idea what was going on. Raymond Fossway shows up with a bunch of people. Sir Stefan
like
shows up
ready to
behind
fight
him
with Dunk. It seemed like.
with swords. Once Egg came to the rescue, not before Egg was there. I'm sure Egg came with his own people as well, right? Aemon, it said that Arian didn't give a fuck about them. He's like, you impudent wench. He said to Egg, spitting a mouthful of blood at the boy's feet. What happened to your hair? I cut it off, brother. Said Egg, I didn't want to look like you. This is the big reveal. Holy fuck, Egg is Arian's brother.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Again, most people have no idea how the fucking family tree is so complicated.
The
You're like,
family
wait,
tree
where
is
does
so
he fit?
complicated, and if you
You're
didn't
like, wait, is
know
Egg gonna
Egg,
be, you're like, wait, is Egg gonna be king next? And you're like, wait, no, he's literally like the fourth son of the fourth son, but it's still
16th
kind of
in line.
badass that he's a fucking prince. Yeah, exactly.
But it's also like to me, I feel like Nels, like I feel like I truly was completely surprised that Egg was a Targaryen the first time I read it. Like
If you listen to the podcast we did the first time, I said, did you guys know anything about this going in? And you're both like, well, I knew about Egg.
I might
listened to it
have
today.
lied. I think I was lying.
I'm sure some of it like you had forgotten because I had purposely not brought it up. You don't remember stuff doesn't. I say a lot of stuff to you about Game of
say
Thrones,
so
and you listen,
much to me, I can't remember it
but
all.
I know a lot of it doesn't stick. Yeah, I know
I
a lot of
like-
it doesn't stick. I'm sure.
I think what I said was
thing is,
I
I'm
remember Aemon saying like, "Oh, my brother Egg, my blah blah blah," and like sometimes
Yeah.
I just read and I'm just reading the read. Like I'm not even trying to comprehend it that clearly. And
yeah.
but I was like, "Oh shit!"
And I was surprised. I would have been really surprised if when we started doing this podcast, because like when we started doing the podcast, we did it right off the tail of the Hedge Knight and the Storms. The next one's called the Sworn Sword, and then the Mystery Knight. We did it right off of those. I would be really surprised if during the first podcast when we were talking to Kyle, we didn't, even if it wasn't on air, we didn't say, "Oh yeah, it's short stories where it's like a Hedge Knight and then like a king and or like a prince in disguise." Right.
I feel like I remember you
really
saying that, but I would never put it together. I don't think.
Exactly. You would never pull it up like when you're reading it, but like I would be super surprised if we didn't say that at the time, just thinking that we would never finish the first book and get this far. This is where my notes start to get more sparse, so we're gonna have to rely on. I'm gonna have to rely on more of your guys' fresh memory.
We've got a great memory. All right, so we get the big reveal that Egg is Targaryen. He's Maekar's son. He's Aeron's brother. We now know that Daeron is the drunk. Like if you should have.
Dunk is dream.
Yep.
Yep.
So
I do want Kyle. You can read this quote. It's a short one. It's Dunk's it's right before Egg comes in, and he's thinking about a quote Sir Arlen told him. We kind of talked about what a hedge knight is earlier, but this is the quote this is the definition that Arlen gave Dunk.
A hedge knight is the truest kind of knight, Dunk. The old man had told him a long, long time ago. Other knights serve the lords who keep them, or from whom they hold their lands. But we serve where we will, for men whose causes we believe in. Every knight swears to protect the weak and innocent, but we keep the vow best, I think. Queer how strong that memory seemed. Dunk had quite forgotten those words, and perhaps the old man had as well, toward the end.
I think that just like Dunk even thought that he forgot those. But it's exactly what he did. It's why he's in this jail cell.
Yeah, he's helping the weak. Exactly, the defenseless.
And we see later on, like, a lot of people do step up to join his 7 when he needs 7. We'll get to there. But, like, the part where he, like, rides up and down the list, like, literally calling people out by name. Like, we helped you. Like, my boy took a wound for you. And they're like,
Yeah, I'm
fuck off.
not praying for that.
All those guys are knights. And that kind of makes me it's like I get the Hound point of view. It's like, fuck you. The knight's just a title. Dunk's the real knight. Like, just because you say you're a knight doesn't mean
you could be a knight and be a dick. Or you can be.
And I'm not saying the Hound's a knight. The Hound fucking murdered Micah.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say like you can be a
innocent,
knight and then kill your king, Jaime Lannister.
I don't know if you can, but that sentiment.
He
Where
continues to be
the
a
Hound's
knight.
sentiment where just because someone says they're a knight doesn't mean that they're actually a knight.
Exactly, and that's true. Yeah.
Definitely holds water here, right?
All right. So Dunk's in jail.
Egg comes in, brings him food.
Yep.
He says, "I didn't know. I've never heard of a prince named Egg." And he's like, and he tells him, "Aemon gave me that name, and Aemon's at the Citadel now. Again, cool when you know Aemon, John Aemon." And he's like, basically explains what happened. Darren ran away because he didn't want to fight.
It's just so soft. And he's
Egg was
drunk.
Darren's squire, and Egg was super disappointed because of it. Yeah,
we kind of find out that Darren drinks because basically he's scared of his dreams, right?
Yeah, they come true.
Again, my notes aren't that clear. Is that what happened? You guys are going to have to lead here.
I think that's fair, though. I think
it's maybe that's an assumption.
Yeah.
But why? He's seeing. We end up knowing that he sees crazy shit, right? He says it to Dunk. But yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. He's scared of his dreams, so he's like, "Fuck this!" It just doesn't make sense of why he's drinking. I think he's drinking so he doesn't dream, basically.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
So Egg comes in, they talk a little bit. Egg so sorry for lying to you, blah blah blah, and then he gets another visitor, right?
It's Baylor.
This is when Baylor comes in.
Well, I think. Well, Egg tells him. Yeah, Baylor says, "I want to see you when you're done eating," and Egg's like, "Well," Dunk's like, "Well, I'm done eating now. I kicked a prince in the face. I don't want to leave another one waiting or whatever."
So he goes to see Baylor, and this is when Baylor basically is like, "How?"
Baylor's not there. It's just Baylor.
It's just Baylor, and Baylor's like, "Hey, man, how good of a knight are you?" And we get into details of it, but really, it's the nitty gritty of it is hey, if you just go to a normal.
Well, first off, not that great is Dunk's answer. He's like, I can hold my.
I learned sword and shield by the old man. He's like, oh fuck. But it's either we come to find out it's hey, you can go to a normal trial and lose a hand and a foot and your teeth, or you can trial by combat. You can.
Yeah, and he's like, Aaron's not that
any
good.
knight can fight.
You can beat him, Bri.
Well, one cool thing too is Baylor's when he's talking about how he got in this predicament, he's like, Egg fucked you. He's like, Egg should have come to me when Aeron started being a dick, not you. I might have done the exact same thing you did and just beat the shit out of Aeron. But I'm a prince, and you're not.
I'm Blood of the Dragon. You're not Blood of the Dragon. You can't touch Blood of the Dragon.
Well, he said, just he's like, I would have done the same thing you did. He's like, but you're not allowed to do that. Egg's like, I fucking hate Aeron.
Is Egg still there? Doesn't Egg leave at some point? But
Egg starts saying I hate Aeron, and then Baylor kicks him out. Right.
I just want to pose a question. You could go. What would you do, Nels? Trial by combat or lose a hand and a foot? Think about losing a hand and a foot nowadays is so much different than losing a hand and a foot back then.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I feel like it's way worse back then, especially
absolutely.
For Dunk. What the fuck's he gonna do then?
He's gonna do nothing. He's gonna do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like you gotta try. I mean, what he does is probably not a bad idea. The thing is, he thinks it's gonna be a joust, though, right?
No, he's one-on-one.
He just thinks it's gonna be one-on-one.
One-on-one combat, he might have a decent shot, but
it might start
joust,
it sounds like either way it would have started as a joust and just went into the melee format. You fight until you're done fighting.
If that's true, I don't think he has a shot. But that's weird, right? Because why does Tyrion's trial by combat start both people on foot, but this trial by combat, because it's 7-on-7, start on horse? Is it because it's 7-on-7, or is it just
it's probably because they're at a horse tournament?
No, I think it's just different times. So. I think it's over time they changed. I don't know.
I think yes, it's meant to mirror the format of the tournament because it's 7 people jousting 7 people, just like it was earlier in the tournament. But I think this is pretty much a completely separate thing, and this could have happened at just a melee or just an archery tournament if Dunk was punching somebody or whatever.
I don't think so. I think it was because that was what they were doing.
Well, you think if they're at an archery tournament, they're going to make
what they're here for? If
you think they're at an archery tournament, they're going to make Dunk and Aeron shoot each other with bows? No. I think it's just how it goes.
I think it was we're talking about 150 plus years, maybe not 150. We're talking about a lot of years later.
I think I'm wrong. I know of another Battle of 7 that happens in history, and I don't think it starts on horses. So maybe Kyle's right.
I think it's I think it's just they're here. That's what they've been doing, giving people what they're here for.
I guess, but Dunk says there's no people here, just lords. There's no crowd. There's no like commons here.
Well, the only other trial by combat we have is like an actual like murder trial. Like it's not at a tournament, so it's kind of hard to tell what that setting actually even is, you know. But so Dunk pretty much is like, all right. He goes to Makar and Ashford and Baylor, and he's like, all right, I want trial by combat. And we find out that Arion wants trial by the 7 because we find out that Daron was lying on him too. Is it Daron?
Yeah, Daron said that Dunk stole egg.
Yeah, at
from
the
him.
end.
And the reason Daron wasn't and the reason Daron wasn't here was because he's been looking for egg this whole time. Not because he was drunk at a bar, because he was looking for egg. So
this is some real Sansa and the lady shit. It's like, oh yeah, no, Joffrey was fine.
Yeah, so Arion's like, I didn't try about 7 because Daron needs a chance to fight him too, since he was wronging Daron. Daron's like, nah, it's cool, bro. Seriously, you got it. And he's like, no, I insist. So it ends up going trial by 7. Dunk's like, fuck, I don't know 7 people, like, period. Like, how the fuck am I going to find 7 knights?
6 people.
6 people, whatever. And basically, like, if I don't find them, can I just, like, enter with, like, 5 or 4 or whatever? And, like, no, if you don't find 7, you're
guilty. Because
it means your cause isn't just enough. So, long story short on that, he like enlists Raymond and he thinks Stefan as well to help him
Stefan's
find
like,
some
don't
people.
worry, don't even worry about it. I got you.
Just
leave it to me. You stay here and relax. I got it. Stefan leaves.
Yeah, I know everybody here.
Raymond's like, we should not trust him. We should go find our own guys. But before they go, this is when Egg and Daron show up, right? And this is when we talk about the dream talk.
Yep. So Darren's like, hey man, like I told you I had a dream about you. And he's like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. Like, I have dreams too sometimes. Like, no, my dreams are real. And I saw a dragon laying on top of you, but the dragon was dead and you were still living.
Sir, my father is going to join the 7 accusers. Egg broke in. I begged him not to, but he won't listen. He says it is the only way to redeem Aeron's honor and then Daron's.
Not that I have ever asked to have my honor redeemed, said Prince Daron sourly. Whoever has it can keep it. Still, here we are. For what it's worth, Sir Duncan, you have little to fear from me. The only thing I like less than horses are swords. Heavy things, and beastly sharp. I'll do my best to look gallant in the first charge, but after that, well, perhaps you could strike me a nice blow to the side of the helm. Make it ring, but not too loud, if you take my meaning. My brothers have my measure when it comes to fighting, and dancing, and thinking, and reading books. But none of them is half my equal at lying insensible in the mud. All right, so we find out Darren's going to be fighting because his brother insisted, and he's just going to get hit and lay down and play dead. Play possum for the rest of it.
Yeah, like, so it's 7-on-6 right off the beginning here. It's pretty much what it's
So we find out...
you have a chance.
We find out that the accuser's side is going to be Aeron, Daron, Makar, 2 Kingsguard.
3 Kingsguard?
Three Kingsguard. 3 Kingsguard. Yeah, so 6. They have 6, and he's like, wait, who's the 7th? They're like, oh, you don't know. Well, they'll just buy whoever they need to be 7th if someone doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Because the other Kingsguard are off looking, or no, they weren't. They're not off looking for anybody.
Yep.
They were.
So then Egg and Raymond go off and look for knights. And Dunk goes to get his armor? Or to get his shield?
To get his shield. They're gone.
Yep.
But he runs into Steely Pate. He's like, I got your shield.
The lady left for Dorne. Better to be not seen. If you're not seen, you're forgotten. Lady did a great job, like Nelson said.
Looked great.
I don't have a picture of it in my...
So all the small folk are for Dunk.
They're kissing his hand. They're like, hey, man, good luck. Like, God's be with you.
Everyone realizes that he did the right thing. Literally everybody.
Yes.
So like they're all standing up for him.
Well,
everyone except for...
Did we get into it where nobody said anything about Darion, or what is it? Arion, rather. Arion was hurting her because she was killing a dragon.
Yeah, we didn't talk about why. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and he's the dragon. It's very Viserys, like, I'm the dragon bullshit.
I did think it was total I agree with you. It seems total bullshit, but the conversation that Dunk has with Baelor, who's the seems like the nicest and like the most reasonable of all the Targaryens, right? He even says like it wasn't a good idea for that puppet show to have dragons being killed, which is like Shows that
Wasn't Dunk laughing at the show though?
Yeah, it was.
everyone liked all the shows, but like
Yeah.
even I just think it shows that even the most level-headed of the Targaryens is like
Still
has like a
found
lot of pride
fault
in
in
the
it.
dragon
Yeah.
the dragon.
Yeah,
sigil
I mean,
or
that's
whatever,
like-
right?
Yeah, I think everybody would. Like, we don't have sigils of our family, but like, if we were portrayed as dying or like as stupid or like, you would take
I don't know.
offense to that.
I think you should be able to like my high school mascot was the lion, right? And like I can watch like a documentary where a lion dies.
Yeah,
and not be
but
like,
that's
wow,
not
they
the-
hate my high school.
But that's
You know
not the
what I mean?
point. That would be like the neighbor down the street is
Like
putting on a play and the lion is acting like stupid or goes and kills the lion. Like,
But it's not the same.
This
lion,
one, yeah,
though.
this one was like
No,
Florian and Jonquil.
I
No,
don't know.
I
I
think
disagree.
again, I don't know the exact story of Florian and Jonquil, but I don't think it's an anti-Targaryen story. I think there just happens to be like a wild dragon in it that gets killed. Like I don't think it's a Targaryen.
No, I agree to that point. Like, they don't mention at all when there's a dragon pup that dies that it. But like, obviously,
They're
that
not like
guy
in
took
the,
offense.
it's not like they're in the streets singing like "Death to America." They're just like in the streets like
Yeah. I'm with you.
showing a play where a bald eagle gets shot down, like, and then someone just like breaks their fingers for it. Like, okay, chill, dude. It had nothing to do with America. It's just a bald eagle. I get maybe not
But that's
quite
just-
the same, but
It's closer.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
So-
Like, people take offense to that shit.
people
all
would
the
definitely take
time.
offense to it for sure.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. Not. That's
And,
not.
well, that's not the moral of the
wrong
story.
way.
Is that people will. So
It's insignificant, I guess, is what. It wasn't meant to be anything. It
yeah,
was harmless on the surface. Somebody read into it. But anyway, so he gets his armor, or he gets his shield from Steely, and he's like, it was kind of shitty. I fixed it up for you for
one
copper. Like, real cheap.
helping him out. Letting the
Like,
players
like-
play.
Is this
Nelson,
where we
as
hear
they would say.
Is this where we hear the rhyme for the first time?
Yeah. Oak and iron, guard me well, or else I'm dead and doomed to hell.
Nelson lives by that.
Love that rhyme. So I think
So it's
the
pretty
next
much
thing
like
on my
your
notes
shield is.
is the most important thing. Yeah. Next thing on my notes is who Dunk's team is.
So he shows up and like he's there and he's like trying to call everybody to be on his side because he's not sure how many he has. He sees there's a couple of them that show up. We'll get into who, but he still needs more.
Before we get to the 5, like I kind of remember. So the young Fosway kid brings the guy who broke his leg. Was it Harlan Humphrey?
Humphrey Harding.
Humphrey Harding and
Humphrey Beesbury, who like I think Humphrey Beesbury and Humphrey Harding the day before
Yeah, they had a
broke
big fight.
9 tilts, and it was like the Battle of the Humphreys or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it was a good fight. They were both really good.
but yeah, Humphrey Harding has a broken leg from Arion, which
Yeah.
obviously is why he's here. Fuck
And he's
that
like,
guy.
as long as I can be on a horse, like, I'm cool. So that's 3.
On Arion's horse. That's the best.
yeah,
part.
exactly.
Number 4 is
Robin Riesling.
I don't know where he comes from, but he's on my list. Yep.
he
and then,
pops up, and then 5th comes Egg walking with
no, Laughing Storm.
Laughing Storm, right? Doesn't
Yep.
I think Egg
Is
might
that
bring
who Egg
him.
comes up? I don't remember exactly. Again, I just
I
have a
think
list.
Egg brings
Egg
him,
might bring
yeah.
him up. Again, he's a fucking goat. He's one of the current reigning champions, right? I
And
think.
he's literally like, I'm only here because there hasn't been a Battle of the 7 in over 100 years, and I'm not missing the chance of being in
Which
that.
again is just the biggest Robert Baratheon like.
Like, oh, a chance to kill someone? Like, yeah.
Like, I gotta be part of this. Like, my name has to be on the list.
So that gives them 5. And they believe that Stefan Fosway is on their side, so that's 6. They're like, oh shit, we need one more.
And he's gonna bring the last. Is
Right.
what he
Because
thought,
he was
too.
like, oh, trust me. He comes back.
No. Now the other crew shows up.
Right. They come out on the accuser
Crowd's
side.
pumped.
So they have 6.
They have 6. Yes.
We talked about who the 6 were. There was
Yep.
the 3 Targaryens: Maekar, Arion, Daeron.
3
Daeron's
kings
just gonna fall
and
away.
the 3 kings
Three
guard.
Three
Kings
Kings
Guard.
Guard. Stefan pulls the old switcheroo. He comes over. He's like, "What do you mean? You guys only have 5? What are you doing?"
I'm actually 7 on the other side.
I'm like, what?
Yes.
I'm over there. Like, fuck you, bro. And they're like, knight me, and Dunk's like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. I don't know if I should
how
do
to
that. And he's
I'm
like,
pretty fresh night.
He's like,
myself.
hold on, let me leave. I'm gonna go run away. And then he goes and starts running in front of the crowd and does his thing. While Lionel, the Laughing Storm, Lionel Baratheon, I think is one who knights Raymond and said, who's like a way better person to get knighted by. And I don't know if we've heard this yet, but like later somebody talks about like if you get knighted by somebody who like later like brings dishonor or something like that, it's like it looks bad on you too, right? Like looks.
I'm sure, yeah.
So it's like
because you're connected.
So
to
like
him.
just being knighted by Lionel over Dunk is just kind of like a holy fuck,
sure,
that's
it's way
awesome.
better.
Yeah. Like Raymond probably thought asking Dunk was a stretch. Like, hey, new guy, can you knight me? Like, cause like maybe you will, cause you don't.
I don't think even Raymond cared at that point. He was like, hey, just knight me and I'll fight for you.
No, for sure, but I don't think like I thought the answer. Like I don't think if he asked Lionel, I thought that he thought the answer would be no.
Yeah.
But maybe Dunk would say yes because Dunk needed it, and Dunk was like a recent knight himself.
I gotcha.
So then he's riding up and down, asking everybody to come fight for him. Everybody's ignoring him, like we were talking about before. Like got better shit to do. They're not really knights. Like
it's not my cause. It's your cause. You fight it.
Yeah, that's your problem, not mine. And then, sure enough,
in walks Valar. Wait a minute, it's
Hold
not Valar.
on, that's not you. Baelor's wearing Valor's fucking armor.
Again, Kyle probably had no idea who these people were. Baelor is just Valar's father.
Yeah.
Valar was the one who was actually in the tourney, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He had the armor, so he takes that, comes in, it's like, yo, I'm here. They talk about their plan. They have two kind of tricks up their sleeve.
Kingsguard can't attack Baelor.
So he's going to take on them, which is kind of super cheap.
And wait, hold on. Like, he even is asked, like, hey, is that honorable? And he was like, yep, I guess we'll find out. We pretty much fucking found out.
We found out. Not honorable.
Yeah.
Turns out not honorable.
The other trick is that the accusers were coming at him with war lances, which are spears, basically. And they're only
I was kind of asking Kyle the guy on the first read through, but okay, Jeff, you can answer all the questions. Go ahead.
I'm done. Go ahead, Kyle. Finish it out, Kyle.
I don't know where you were going. No, they used the tourney lances because they were longer. That's what they're doing. They're like, all we have to do is knock them off, and then we'll fuck them up, and we'll have reach.
Kind of like what I said earlier. Just knock them down, and then stay mounted, and you win. You're fighting unmounted men. Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. I was kind of just messing around. I've been drinking too much of this Jack. It's going down a little too easy. So they go, and it's a pretty sweet fight. The Duncan.
It's a really cool fight.
Is there anything else that I missed? Oh, Raymond rides up with a green apple.
Yeah, he changed his sigil because he's a little not ripe yet, but it's better than being wormy.
Being rotten.
It's a great line, just a goat line.
Yeah, he didn't want to be associated. It was like cutting your hair off to not be associated with your brother.
And he did mention earlier he was a separate branch. Like it's like it was a cousin, but they were cousins. Yeah, exactly.
So they run, goes into a big fight. Arion is getting the better of Dunk for the most part.
So Dunk hits his lance shot, right? Like he squares up, hits him in the shield, but as soon as he does, like basically Baelor was completely wrong about his plan and it didn't work at all. Dunk struck true, but he just got caught in the side, like literally like through the ribs or like underneath
Yeah, he got stabbed pretty good.
In the side, yeah, like bad.
His shit got
even though he did good, like he hit Aaron.
Right. Yeah.
I thought he glanced off. I thought it was a bad hit.
So he was like focused on the shield.
He made contact.
Well, he made contact, but not great contact, because he mentioned like, I was so focused on hitting center mass, and then he thought about something else, and he was like, "Oh shit, my lance is glancing," and he tried to pull it back, but it was too late. He hit, but he didn't hit clean enough.
I know we're going long, but I want to ask Kyle because I know we talked about this a fuck ton the first time we recorded this. What do you think about? How do you think size affects jousting ability, Kyle?
A lot, for sure.
Being bigger is better or worse?
Yes.
What?
I mean, it's probably got its pros and cons. Like
exactly. So then, what's better, to be bigger or smaller in jousting?
If you're going with blunt stuff, I'm sure it's bigger is better. But stabby stuff, I mean, like you're still gonna get stabbed.
You just don't want to get hit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Like if you're big and you're sturdy on your horse, you're gonna be harder to knock off. But the bigger you are, the harder you fall. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be harder to.
There's just force behind being big, but you're a bigger target. That's the argument. That's the only argument there. Like,
yeah, I mean, Kyle's definitely right that if you're skilled enough, then yeah, being smaller has to be useful in like when you have a fucking point.
But you have way less force behind your point. Oh, but with a point. With a point.
With a point
that's
doesn't
what I'm
fucking
saying.
matter.
The
You're going
point
through no
changes
matter
a lot
what.
of this for sure.
I guess unless the only thing I guess that really matters against unless is like if I'm going against you on a lance and I know we're doing that, I'm just gonna wear like because I'm on a horse, I don't have to hold the weight of my armor. So I just go with like super fucking thick armor because I'm bigger and like
but then you're heavy. But you got to think about once you get hit, you've got to balance all that weight once you get hit too.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get hit with 100-pound armor on, and try and stay on a horse. Like that's not easy
slow
either.
Your horse way down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish jousting was still a sport, but obviously I understand the problems with the horses. Once we get robot horses, jousting is going to come back. I'm calling it right now.
People are going to die too, though.
No, that's okay. People don't give a fuck about that. People give a fuck about horses dying, though.
That is true.
It's actually pretty epic.
If one little mare dies, nobody blinks an eye.
Pretty epic fight happens.
So yeah, so once he gets stabbed, he pulls the shit out, right? He pulls the sword. Well, he pulls his lance. He pulls the lance out of himself.
Yep. He pulls his lance out. His lance is broken, so he has to pull his sword. Yeah.
He's saying up, 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 thunder, right? Which comes back later. Thunder that's when he says that. Thunder actually comes back up.
Yep.
He gets his sword.
Yep. And he's about to turn around and just kind of scope out the rest of the fight, what's kind of going on. He sees one of the Humphreys is down in a pile of mud and blood. The other one that had his broken legs is still fighting.
He's like clinging to his horse's neck or something.
Yeah. Baylor is still fighting. The Laughing Storm is now going to help Baylor.
I don't know if we're getting all this at the right time, but eventually, yeah, like basically what happens is
and then
the two kings are...
Aaron comes and fucks up Dunk.
Yeah, they just like collide on horse. Like he just charges into him horse to horse, right?
Which is just that's a psycho play.
They both go down. Dunk stands up and has like mud on him or something.
Yeah, it's caked into his visor. He can't see.
And when he finally gets it off, or did he take off
his helmet? Smashed too.
Yeah, he thought like he already thought he broke his skull. No, did that already happen? Or I feel like that's about to happen with the Morning Star, right? Like he stands up, gets the mud off his helmet, gets hit the Morning Star, thinks his skull's broken. It might be broken. Aaron comes on him. He's like, "Are you gonna let me cut off your hand and foot and bring out some teeth now?" Nope. And then just starts swinging. Dunk somehow.
Well, Dunk, yeah. So Dunk was laying in the mud and was like,
"Rolls.
Fuck, I can't do anything." Aaron comes up like, "Yeah, you could have got a foot or a hand cut off and your teeth. Like, are you done fighting yet?" And he's like, "All right, I'll just swing one more time." He rolls away, rolls into his legs, basically cuts him down.
Yeah, that's a football term. That's a football term for those of you who don't understand. He doesn't like pull out a knife and cut him. Cut is a football term where you like dive at somebody's legs.
Chop block.
Chop block, sure.
And now he's got all the control, right? And he grabs this fucking shield and just starts fucking waylaying on his ass.
Smashing his face in.
Yeah, so then I think this is, Jeff, I think you got a little bit confused. I think as he smashed him, I think this is partially when he's looking around and seeing how much bad shit's going on. Like, one of the Kingsguard is carrying another Kingsguard off the field. One of the Humphreys is holding onto his horse. The other one's kind of fucked up. Makor is fighting Balon, and
Baylor.
Baylor and the other Humphrey one of the Humphreys are fighting Makor, and they're like fucking him up. So Dunk's like, I gotta call an end to this. Takes Aaron over to Lord Ashford.
One of the ways to call an end to this is to make the accusers recount, essentially. And
he's been like whispering it to Dunk, like, all right, I'm done. Like, you beat the shit out of me, I'm done. Please stop.
Yeah, so he goes and shakes him in front of Ashford. He says it. They're like, what happened? And he says, Humphrey Beesbury died. The other Humphrey's wounded, but he was fucking wounded before, so whatever. And like besides that and no one got it too bad, but Dunk's pretty fucked up. His own chainmail had got, like, when he got to the lance, like the iron links were inside his like meat and stuff, so I don't know how they fixed that, but somebody suggests they pour boiling oil in it.
And this is where Baylor walks in like, "No, boiling wine, you fucking nitwits."
Yeah,
saved his life twice. He even says that at some point.
Yeah, so then Baylor says that the realm Again, I have really sparse notes here. He said what? He says Dunk's a good man.
Well, no, I mean, he pretty much just says, Your Grace, I am your man, please, your man. He essentially says, like, Dunk is saying, like, I pledge myself to you at this point.
Thank you so
like,
much for helping me. You did.
Yeah,
You
like,
basically
whatever
did all
you
this.
need, I am yours. And then he's like, I need good men, Sir Duncan, the realm. And then he, like, just stops talking. And he's like,
and I think they try to take off his
and then that's when he says, Sir Raymond, my helm, if you'd be kind, my visor's cracked and my fingers feel like wood. He says that once. And then they start trying to take it off. Steely Pate comes up and like pries it off his head pretty much.
That's queer.
Yeah.
And
his head's out. He has half a head.
Yeah, his brain's
That's just
full
crazy. Like,
yeah.
I guess if the helmet's keeping everything intact, like,
I mean, he seems pretty out of it. I think this is fair enough. Like, it's like just at the end of it, and he's like dying here.
Yeah, no, I think it's okay. Like, it's kind of like when you get stabbed with like a huge pole or something, but like, as long as you don't take it out, like you can live until you take it out. Type of shit.
Which Dunk did.
They say immediately. I think they say it was Makor's.
Well, yeah, he even says that. He says it's crushed down at the back, your grace, toward the left side, and he said, "Brother's mace most like he's strong."
Steely Pace says that. Oh, no, you're right. Baylor says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when it comes out. So
and then Baylor even admits it later too. He's like, "I know it was me. It had to be."
What do you mean?
Makor.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
So then Dunk starts yelling at him, up.
Yeah, like he did Thunder.
Didn't work.
And he did. He gone. Baylor gone. Heir of the throne.
And that's Dunk catches Baylor. Which
and
again is the callback to
the dead dragon falls on top of him.
Yeah, the dream Daron had where a dragon falls on top of Dunk.
And he gone.
And the next thing I have in my notes is about the vigil, where Valar is standing there. And Valar is standing vigil for Baylor and asks him why the gods would kill him and spare Dunk. And Aaron was sent to Lys, and he says that the men will say He says that men will say he meant to kill his brother. I guess that has to be Makor.
Yeah, so this is Makor. So Makor, Dunk is like getting his shit together.
Is there anything else to the vigil? The actual king comes. Doesn't that king come to the vigil?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They burn him. And they kind of mention how Targaryens burn, everybody else will be buried. So like maybe he would have been taken back to King's Landing and be buried, but they just burn him anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone shows up. I don't recall. But the next day, or maybe like later that day, a whole like king's like group of men starts to come to Egg, and Egg's like, "Oh, I guess they're gonna kill me anyway." Like especially
Dunk.
now that, Dunk. Now that I've actually killed the heir to the throne, or the heir to the throne died for me. And it's he's like, the guards come up and they're like, "Hey, the prince wants to see you." And at this point,
where's the last two pages start?
We're coming up. We're at 114 out of 118.
We read the last two pages, is what my notes say.
Okay, go ahead. So Makor comes up and he tells everybody what happened. Essentially, he's like, "I sent Arion to Lys. Few years out there might change him, make him better." But he Dunk didn't really seem to believe it, but he's glad he's gone either way. So like, fuck that. And then Makor's like, "Some people are going to say that I tried to kill him. God's know that's a lie, but I'm sure I'm going to hear about it forever," because he's essentially putting himself up a notch in line to be king.
Exactly. And Dunk says same to me though, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Says same to me.
And Makor agrees. Makor's like, yeah, like every time the crops don't grow or the war is lost, or they're going to be like, yeah, well, Baylor would have had this figured out, and he died for that Hedge night.
Hey, everyone, this is Editor Nelson. Put in a little disclaimer in the middle of the podcast here. We're about to read a quote. This quote is actually taken. So what we did was Kyle read the entire quote when we recorded it. He did it kind of monotone. I didn't really like it. I wanted voices because it's one of my favorite quotes in all the books. So I went back and I grabbed the quote that me, Jeff, and Glow did, and I just replaced all of Jeff's audio with Kyle. So we're still going to get Kyle. You're going to get a little bit of Glow in this episode. And the reason I did that was just because Jeff's audio way back then wasn't as good, and it was kind of like buzzy every time he talked. So I replaced that with Kyle so that we got clean audio the whole way through. Get Glow in this episode. All is good. Just want to let you guys know because it's about to be kind of jarring when you hear Glow, no Jeff. You know what I mean? All right, here goes.
So Dunk could see the truth in that.
If I had not fought, you would have had my hand off and my foot. Sometimes I sit under that tree there and look at my feet and ask if I could have spared one. How could my foot be worth a prince's life? And the other two as well, the Humphreys. They were good men too.
Sir Humphrey Harding had succumbed to his wounds only last night.
And what answer does your tree give you?
None that I can hear, but the old man, Sir Arlen. Every day at evenfall he'd say, I wonder what the morrow will bring. He never knew no more than we do. Well, mightn't it be that some morrow will come when I'll have need of that foot, when the realm has need of that foot, even more than a prince's life.
Makar chewed on that a time, mouth clenched beneath the silvery pale beard that made his face seem so square.
It's not bloody likely,
He said harshly.
The realm has as many hedge knights as hedges, and all of them have feet.
If your grace has a better answer, I'd want to hear it.
Makar frowned.
It may be that the gods have a taste for cruel japes, or perhaps there are no gods. Perhaps none of this had any meaning. I'd asked the High Septon, but the last time I went to him, he told me that no man can truly understand the workings of the gods. Perhaps he should try sleeping under a tree.
He grimaced.
My youngest son seems to have grown fond of you, sir. It is time was a squire, but he tells me he will serve no knight but you. He is an unruly boy, and you will have noticed. Will you have him?
Me?
Dunk's mouth opened and closed, and opened again.
Aegon, I mean. He's a good lad, but your grace. I know you honor me, but I'm only a hedge knight.
That can be changed,
said Makar.
Aegon is to return to my castle at Summerhall. There is a place there for you, if you wish. A knight of my household. You'll swear your sword to me, and Aegon can squire for you. While you train him, my master-at-arms will finish your own training.
The prince gave him a shrewd look.
Your Sir Arlen did all he could for you, I have no doubt, but you still have much to learn.
I know, my lord.
Dunk looked at him. The green grass and the reeds, the tall elm, the ripples dancing across the surface of the sunlit pool. Another dragonfly was moving across the water, or perhaps it was the same one. What shall it be, Dunk? He asked himself. Dragonflies or dragons? A few days ago he would have answered at once. It was all he had ever dreamed. But now that the prospect was at hand, it frightened him.
Just before Prince Balor died, I swore to be his man.
Presumptuous of you,
said Makar.
What did he say?
The realm needed good men.
That's true enough. What of it?
I will take your son as squire, your grace, but not at Summerhall. Not for a year or two. He's seen sufficient of castles, I would judge. I'll have him only if I can take him on the road with me.
He pointed to old Chestnut.
He'll ride my stot, wear my old cloak, he'll keep my sword sharp and my mail scoured. We'll sleep in inns and stables and now and again in the halls of some landed knight or lesser lordly, and maybe under trees when we must.
Prince Makar gave an incredulous look.
Did the trial addle your wits, man? Aegon is a prince of the realm, the blood of the dragon. Princes are not made for sleeping in ditches and eating hard salt beef.
He saw Dunk hesitate.
What is it you're afraid to tell me? Say what you will, sir.
Daron never slept in a ditch, I'll wager.
Dunk said very quietly.
And all the beef Arion ever ate was thick and rare and bloody, like as not.
Makar Targaryen, Prince of Summerhall, regarded Dunk of Fleabottom for a long time, his jaw working silently beneath his silvery beard. Finally he turned and walked away, never speaking a word. Dunk heard him riding off with his men. When they were gone, there was no sound but the faint thrum of the dragonfly's wings as it skimmed across the water. The boy came the next morning, just as the sun was coming up. He wore old boots, brown breeches, a brown wool tunic, and an old traveler's cloak. My lord father says I am to serve you.
Serve you, sir.
Dunk reminded him.
You can start by saddling the horses. Chestnut is yours. Treat her kindly. I don't want to find you on Thunder unless I put you there.
Egg went to get the saddles. Where are we going, sir? Dunk thought for a moment.
I've never been over the Red Mountains. Would you like to have a look at Dorne?
Egg grinned. I hear they have good puppet shows, he said.
Kyle, 1 to 10, give me a score of this book.
I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was a good story. It was kind of a change from the other ones where like the bad guys do win some, you know, like this one, I guess they killed Baelor, but he wasn't our character by any means. And he wasn't like, I mean, he was important obviously, but to us, he wasn't super important.
And again, it's not I'm going to say now, it's not super important like to our story, like the story that we've actually like care about, right? The thing that we've done 100.
That's what I'm
episodes
saying.
for.
Yeah.
But like we will going forward hear like, oh, if we will hear kind of the stuff that Maker and Dunk are saying here, we're like, oh, if Baylor was there. Like again, we don't hear like people. I'm sure you heard that a lot more in his time, but you hear like, oh, Baylor never was king, so blah blah blah. This happened instead, or Baylor would have never done well like this. Who became king did, or blah 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 that kind of thing.
What I think is really cool about these short stories, and I agree with Kyle, like it's such a nice change up. Like just the feel of just reading a story, not having to worry about chapters and like getting sustenance in your mind, just reading. You know, you don't have to bounce around. It's just there for you. You get one POV, you get one story, bam. Like you could easily cut this one up. Yeah, you could easily cut this one up into different POVs, but you just get it. And it gives me a lot of hope for the prequel show. I think it's gonna be dope. Like you can just
Is that based on a lot on this or what?
I think it's even well before it, but it's just like there's a little bit of history for Dunk and Egg. Like obviously it's a little bit closer to the actual storyline, but the stories that are 400 years away, 500 years away, like there's not much to it. Like Nelson, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
So basically what happened is the Targaryens have only reigned for 300 years in Westeros. The Targaryens have only reigned. Aegon became king in 0 AC. AC means after conquest, right? Okay. So we're 298 AC is where Game of Thrones starts. So this is like 290. This is like 198 AC ish, right? Maybe 200, 201. So
say 200 something, just because
around 200 AC, exactly. So that's where this takes place. About 150 AC, there was a Targaryen civil war where dragons fought dragons, and that's what mostly killed out the dragons. That's mostly how dragons died. Again, maybe not completely. Dragons might have existed after that because Arlen sees one that's like withered and just can't have kids, so like they might have just died out genetically. But there was a Targaryen civil war that killed. That's why like pretty much like the majority of dragons died. The prequel shows about that civil war. That's why I brought that up. That's what the show is about. Okay. So like I think Kyle will be able to watch that and not have any spoilers in it. Like if you want, like again, like it's up to you.
There's probably going to be spoilers.
The other thing is, I was going to ask you this. What's your? I don't know if you've talked to her at all, but what's your wife's thoughts about the Hedge Knight? Like, would she want to read it?
I don't know.
I assume she didn't if you didn't have it before.
If she hasn't, she definitely should. I think
it's easy. It was fast. Like I said,
it is a fast one. I feel like it's kind of like a children's book, and I don't mean that in any way. It's like. It's kind of like
it's definitely way more G-rated, right? There's no rape. Like there's the worst things like the horse getting killed and him breaking Tantal's too tall's hands, right?
Like if you were a Harry Potter fan, this kind of like Beetle the Bard, like the little short stories that were in Harry Potter.
My sister's 13. I feel like she could read this book and be totally fine. And she doesn't like a lot of stuff. Yeah. She could not read Game of Thrones to be fine. That's totally different.
She wouldn't even like be able to comprehend. Like I feel like this is pretty easily comprehensible. Like it's not.
I don't know if it's super easily comprehensible. Again, like the family
compared to Game of Thrones,
dude. That's just all names at the end of the day. Yeah,
that's just all names at the end of the day.
You complained about this so much the first read through. All the Targaryen names are just impossible.
Well, yeah, that's the most confusing thing about it. They all sound the same. They reuse the names. Like that's impossible. Now I'm through it the second time, and I went through the fucking headache of understanding whose kid is who and who's in line. Yeah. I mean, well, then you get Aegon the second, Aegon the third, Aegon the fourth. Like, who the fuck is Aegon anymore? You don't even know.
I think we should talk about it now, Jeff. Jeff and I have been texting about something that you didn't pick up on in this that I thought you were going to pick up on that I want to bring up. But
and don't worry, Kyle, because I didn't either. But my second time,
I don't think it's a big spoiler.
I don't think it is either. But my second time through, Kyle, there's so many.
And I don't think there's that many more hints to it in the other. Like, there's definitely like just like the same type of hints in this as are in this one.
For sure.
So like a lot of people think Dunk's not an actual knight, right? Like when he goes to the steward and says like he's like you're not a knight. He's like oh I am a knight, and he hopes that his ears aren't red. And when Raymond wants to get when Raymond wants
hold on. You're pretty drunk. Let me stop. There's a theory that Dunk was never knighted by Sir Arlen before he died. That's the big theory.
Okay. That's fair enough.
And a lot of the things about it are he doesn't he gets bashful in front of the guy when he's like, "Oh, well, did he really knight you? Did you say your vows?" And then
like he's lying to him.
Even right
Yeah,
when he
no.
buries Sir Erlen, his first thought is, "Can I go be a squire for another hedge knight?"
Yeah.
If you're a knight, you don't want to go be a squire for somebody else.
yeah, and he doesn't want to knight the young Fosway.
People think it's because like you're doing dishonor to him if you're not a true knight knighting somebody, right? If that comes out in the future, then anything
Yeah,
he does is
It's a big deal.
That's kind of why I brought that up earlier.
So the big thing about it is like he's pretty much kind of faking his way about being a knight this whole time, but like he meets Egg immediately after.
well, he's
and is,
also
like,
the most
playing-
true knight. Is he's like he
Sure.
sticks to the knight's vows. He says like this is what a hedge knight does.
And
So-
he gathered other knights.
He
that
was never
wanted to fight for
knighted.
him.
He was never knighted, but he like does he fulfills all the
embodies the
quality.
knighthood.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think it's pretty obvious that he wasn't actually knighted,
I think you're right. I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
and you don't know it the first time. Like if you would go back and read it, you're like, oh my god! Every time it talks about him being a knight, his ears turn red. Or
And yeah, like later in the other books, of like, are you in like again? It's not as straightforward, but anytime someone like questions his knighthood, he's like, oh my, I hope my ears aren't red. It's like that type of
Mhm.
thing. So it's like he already said that already. So like,
Yeah.
Bunch of
and he just like doesn't. He's not prepared for a sigil. He's not prepared for.
I'm just
his
trying to like
name,
justify us
like-
telling you that like. Because again, like those types of things come up in the next two books, and like maybe you in the next book, you're like, oh,
No, I don't.
Dunk's
I
the
don't.
knight.
And this is separate. I don't feel like that's a massive spoiler. It definitely makes sense. Because it was kind of like it would have had to have been rushed. That was kind of what I was wondering. Is like when did he knight him? Because how did he know he was
Yeah.
going to die?
Yeah,
But he like they did kind of like it was like 3 nights of him being
yeah.
kind of shitty. So I kind of justified it to myself. But now that you say that, I mean, it makes much.
I mean,
I
I think
will- I will
the
say
weirdest
that,
thing about it.
Glow and Jeff definitely did not pick up on that either. But
No,
because
not
they
at
had
all.
read all the books, because they had read all 5 books already, I didn't feel bad like saying Dunk's a knight or like Dunk might not be a knight because like I don't know. I feel like more tricky about spoiling.
The
you.
weirdest thing about that is now Egg is a squire for a fraud knight.
Yes and no. I think he's kind of earned his knighthood.
I think it would be
What
interesting
he's going to.
if he asked to get his knighthood from Dunk and how Dunk reacts if it's similar to Raymond.
That would
Right,
be a
'cause
good tell.
It's also interesting because Dunk doesn't seem to really mind that he's a fake knight, but he does seem to mind that he would bestow that on somebody else, right? Like,
Dunk. It seems like Dunk cares about the virtues a little bit more than the like. Okay, you've got a rope belt, but hey, you seem like a really good dude that is doing it for the right reasons. Like I'll follow you type of shit.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why that quote at the end I think is great because like the whole again like when you don't really pick up on 100% of it on the first read through, but going back through like the first time Dunk sees Baelor and Makor is just talking about like how he's disappointed in his sons, and Baelor's like, "Don't worry about it, you still have Aeron," and he's like, and then it even comes up later that like Makor is just disappointed that his sons aren't as good as Baelor's sons, and then at the end, Dunk's like, "Well, Daemon never slept under a hedge, and Arion always ate prime rib and not
yeah, like
salt beef."
well cooked beef, and
Yeah, and I
He's
think
still shitty.
yeah, I think like he's just like you gotta spend time with the people to like you gotta spend time with like
you got to rough it a little bit to appreciate everything that you have.
you gotta
Yeah,
not be the 1% your whole life. And Egg doesn't really seem to have a problem with that. Like a lot of kids who are spoiled, you take them out of that situation, you throw them down with Dunk, they'll be like, "Fuck
He
you."
wants it.
Egg's
Yeah.
like, I
it
hate
seems like
this
Egg
shit.
hates maybe not Daron, but like just like kind of sees Daron like, "Wow, you're a fuck up," and then like, "Oh, Aaron, like I actually really fucking hate you. Like, let me do everything opposite of you."
Which gives me like Arya vibes. Like Arya isn't happy that she's fucking like homeless and on the run, but like it kind of like from what we know about her character, like that kind of suits her. Like she likes to being like the tomboy. Like she doesn't like being the lady. She would not have probably enjoyed her life if everything would have gone perfectly. You know what I mean?
If you told Arya like, "All right, you can be in a dress in King's Landing for the next year, or I can give you Needle and run around the King's Road for a year," what's she gonna pick?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that. Yeah, it's
That's
not
his
even
point.
close.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, exactly.
But
So Dunk, I've said it before. This story is my favorite story of all the Game of Thrones books and of all the 3 short stories. I would probably put this one at the top. Kyle, you didn't give me a 1 out of 10.
It's all downhill from here. I mean, it's like
I don't
8 or 9.
agree with
It's
Nelson,
good.
but it's
fun.
good.
Some people like the third one. Out of the short
I
stories,
think,
there's a contention between this and the third one. There's a
Ooh,
pretty solid
I was going
agreement.
to say
that
the second one's
the
pretty
second
good
one,
too.
the second again, people don't hate the second one, but there's an agreement that the first and third are in contention for the best. George, I don't know if Kyle knows this. George wants the release he wants to do is release The Winds of Winter, another one of these, the next book, and then 9 more, either 9 total or 13 total of these short stories.
Dunkin' Egg.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Dunkin' Egg is cool.
Yeah, and I would not be mad at all if he does Winds and then Dunkin' Egg, because I feel like he could pump a Dunkin' Egg out in like a year.
I mean,
He's not doing
it's
any of
100 pages, right? It's literally 100 pages.
Exactly, it's a short story.
He could take a shit and think of a Dunkin' Egg story.
Yeah,
Don't hold
and-
your breath, Nelson.
I'm trying to hold on. Let me find the release order.
Are we playing Xbox after this, Nelson?
Sure.
A Sword and Sword is 2003. What's after Clash of Kings?
Originally published 2003. You're right. It's Storm of Swords was published 2000.
Okay.
So then Feast of Crows is after that. That's 2005. So we got to read 2 more books before we can get to the next one of these.
Holy shit.
You suck.
Hopefully I'm a fucking husband and father by that time.
hopefully Winds of Winter is out by then.
Shit.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I don't got anything else. I really like this. Dunk's awesome. Egg's awesome.
I thought it was cool. Yeah. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
no, it's good. It'd be a cool little you could make a show out of this too, if we're being real.
It's also going to be interesting because there's a bunch of stuff that if you listen to the first podcast, some stuff will come up in this book that Jeff's like, oh fuck, like I know that. That's from Clash of Kings. That's from Storm of Swords. But Kyle, it'll be the opposite for Kyle. Like something will happen in Clash of Kings. I'll be like, oh, I know that. That's from. He's from
Dunkin'
Oh,
Egg.
yeah,
because it's the other way. Because Jeff didn't read any. Jeff and Glow
I
didn't
got
read
you.
any of these till they read all 5 first.
Mhm.
So yeah,
All right.
so I think that'll be cool too.
Well, the night is dark and full of tears. Thanks for hanging around with us.
Yeah, this special episode. We'll three-peat,
Two
trio,
bonuses in a row.
bonus
Bam,
episode,
bam.
extra long, side shoot.
No Glow.
No
Sorry,
glow.
We missed you.
Sorry, Glow.
Wasn't the same without you, Glow.
All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening.